Hey everyone, welcome back to BRAP. It is Friday, June 20th. Can't believe we're at the end of June here. But anyhow, we have a great show tonight. Have two returning guests this evening. Have Doomsayer. What's going on, Doomsayer?
Nothing much, man. I am on the quest right now to Platinum Doom Eternal. So I got all the multiplayer crap out of the way. So now I'm finishing up the campaign stuff. So
you know what, Doomsayer? We were actually giving you a little bit of shit last time you were here about games you haven't played. Go ahead, Nib.
So I was going to say, did he say Doom Eternal or Doom Dark Ages?
Doom Eternal. I do have Dark Ages, but have not played it yet.
Okay, cool. It'll be interesting to get your thoughts once you've, because they're quite different, but they are obviously similar. But it'll be, I've heard a lot of like contention from fans, like they're so polarized on which they prefer, which they don't like, this, that. So it'll be really interesting to get your take.
I loved 2016. I thought that was my game of the year last year, and yes, I didn't play it until last year. Eternal, I did play the campaign. I already beat it. I'm just going back and cleaning stuff up. I don't like the jumping and gliding and climbing. It threw me off real bad. But doing the multiplayer, it actually helped a little bit better the campaign, because all you're doing.
I think you might prefer Doom the Dark Ages then.
I'm definitely looking forward to that, playing that.
Nice.
So, Doomsayer, I'm not going to give you shit about games you haven't played yet, but I hope that you get to Death Stranding at some point.
That is after Eternal.
Oh, okay, good, because Death Stranding 2 is coming out.
That's the reason why I want to get Death Stranding out of the way, so I can get a copy of Death Stranding 2. And then after that, I have to do Days Gone, because my buddy is ready to kill me on that one too. So between you and my buddy, you guys are giving me way too many games to play right now.
Like there's a lot of good games out there right now. A lot of good games. So not a bad problem to have.
Oh no. Yeah. You never get bored, BRAP. You never get bored.
Yeah.
You're not like these people on, Twitter sitting there saying, "Boy, this generation sucks. I don't have anything to play," and all this. And it's like,
is that going around again?
Oh my god! We were talking
about.
Did
you see the guy's video? Have you guys seen the dude?
No,
the dude who was talking in the mic. So some dude made a video in response to that, and I get it. Like there's some aspects of it I can understand. He was basically shooting down the people who shoot down the people who complain about this games lacking diversity, and he basically went through a list of how he thinks gaming was a lot better back in the day, and I do think some of his points like have merit, right? Like especially in the sports genre, he listed like so many Madden and sort of basketball games that existed back in the day that you could play instead of like just 2K. But the other examples he gave, I didn't really agree on, because he was picking random games in different genres. And like, if you wanted this type of game, you could play this. If you wanted this type of game, you could play this. But that exists today as well. If like, if you want a certain type of game, there's such a wide gamut of different games now. But while I agree with him in the sports sector, we don't have the diversity that we did, because essentially FIFA or EA Sports or whatever and 2K has cannibalized the others, because people just weren't buying the others. So we had no need for them essentially in a market dynamic way. But I don't agree with him on all the other points. If you want, I just think there's so much diversity. If you want rhythm games or whatever, action adventure, there's Hi-Fi Rush, and then if you want cinematic, like storytelling kind of immersive games, there's like a Hellblade, and then you've obviously got your other kind of, there's a wide gamut.
Nib, I had David and Retro on last Saturday. We were, talking about a bunch of stuff like this. And David and we were both sitting there agreeing. We don't understand how people can sit there and say, I don't have anything to play. David and I are like, look at the indie scene. The indie scene is unbelievable for what they have out there and everything. He just got done. I think it was Dave the Diver. maybe a month ago or something like that. He moved on to Yakuza. But I sat there and said, look at the game if you're a Doom fan. Okay? Like we were talking about, there's a game called Forgive Me, Father. There's actually 2 of them. They just brought out part 2. But if you like Doom, it's an indie styled Doom game, but you're a priest, and then you can also play as a reporter. But it's a really fun game and everything. You got to go to the indie scene. Another thing too is it's cheap.
The thing is though, and I 100% agree, indie scene, that's where it's at if you want more like sort of innovation, etc. But I would actually say even in the AAA scene, because if I just like go over the games I played recently, let's just say from the end of last year. So, there was Astrobot, I was still playing Helldivers 2, then I played Indiana Jones. So already it's like 3 completely different genres, right? Then we go into this year, played, Monster Hunter Wilds, Kingdom Come Deliverance, 2, Expedition 33, Split Fiction, a bit more Astrobot because they released new like DLC and stuff. And then, there's quite a lot of games I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I don't know, but basically there's been a gamut. Doom, the Dark Ages. There's been every single game, I would argue, has been different in style, genre, production even. So I don't understand. Like, I can't resonate with that complaint because I just feel like even in the AAA space, there's been such diversity. And in a few weeks, or next week, I'm going to play Death Stranding 2. And that is a really creative game. Yes, it might be cinematic, but what is it? Like like some strategy game involving transportation? Like, that's quite different, and it's got so many quirky elements and aspects to its gameplay with the weather and the erosion and the sort of community building and everything. So yeah, it is really unique and innovative. So again, I just cannot agree with this notion that there's a lack of sort of innovation and stuff. Like even Split Fiction, I don't know if you guys have played it. Split Fiction, and talking, obviously we're enthusiast gamers, we played thousands of games, right? I've literally played thousands of games, and Split Fiction, especially the last level, I've never experienced anything like it in my life. Like, I've genuinely never played anything that was as creative or quirky as that final level. And both me and my brother-in-law, who's also a gamer, we were like left gobsmacked. We were like, damn, like the ingenuity of this final level is insane. Like, what's going on? So I can't agree.
Yeah, I grew up playing on the Atari 2600, so I can't necessarily agree with. I mean, shit. We had a stick and a 1 button, and we had like these little blocks that moved back and forth and shot blocks up at these things that look like aliens. And then ET came along, destroyed the industry. So I can't agree with that person's assessment.
BRAP, I remember sitting there playing the Intellivision. I had an Atari, but Intellivision, and playing football, and all it was a dot going across.
Yeah,
football.
Yeah, it was a dot. You're absolutely right. It was a dot. It was It's so I don't know. I don't agree. I think to Nip's point, like there's a lot of variety, some innovation. I understand the sports thing. Like there's no 2K football. I prefer 2K football over Madden, by the way, in the early 2000s. But
the thing I would say though, and maybe, I don't know, you guys can chime in if this is the case for you. When I look back to how I gamed when I was really young, I realized that a lot of the games that satiated me were actually crap. I don't know if you have that, but there was games that I played, and when you look back or when you play them now, you're just like, oh my god, like I really love this game. Like, I forgot the name, like it was on the Amiga 600, I think. There was this like fighting game which was like these kind of liquid metal like machine guys. And it was like, I loved it. I was like, oh my god, but it's actually like a critically panned and really bad game when you play it now, like mechanically or whatever. But back then, I was bowled over by like the visual fidelity and everything, so I didn't really care so much how it played. And I think when you're younger, you can be more easily impressed. Like I used to play, is it Defender? I can't remember. There was a game where you're like a ship and you shoot like little aliens and stuff, and me and my family played that for, I would say, probably hundreds of hours, like just trying to beat each other's scores. But it's not something I would play for, anywhere near that amount of time today, because the quality bar is so much higher. There's so much else vying for our time. And in terms of production and gameplay systems and AI and all the rest of it. Like, things have really advanced. So, you know, your expectations are completely different.
I mean, I remember playing the original Final Fantasy VII and playing Final Fantasy VII Remake was just like, wow. And it actually, and I know there's some, I think I've come across a few purists, I call them purists, but you know, some of this is, a lot of this is subjective taste, right? But some of them are like, oh, they bastardized, you know, Final Fantasy VII with Remake. That's not my perspective. But I really came to appreciate what they did with the remake and even Rebirth. And it presented the story in a way that they couldn't present due to hardware limitations, technology.
Yeah.
20 something, well, 97.
Yeah.
So, 25 years ago, quarter century ago.
Yeah. There's that gif of Homelander, and he's like, he's like, it's perfect. It was perfect. Every minor detail was perfect. And I felt like that way when I played FF7 Remake and FF7 Rebirth. Well, the first time I saw Wall Street and the first time I saw Gold Saucer, like, like they did that shit like beyond my comprehension. I was like, oh my god, they've actually nailed this. Like, from just the art, the vibe, the characterfulness, it blew me away. And it was a weird thing because there was so much nostalgia. But then in the back of my mind, I know that the version that they're delivering right now, or that I'm playing, is orders of magnitude more advanced than what it was in the game. But obviously, like, your recollection is different from what it actually is. But yeah, I just thought they executed, certain aspects so bloody well, so incredibly well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. We're talking about like the way we used to game, or the kind of gaming experiences we had. It's interesting. I've been hearing this. I think this kind of ties into Microsoft's reveal of their unification of the Xbox ecosystem, PC, Windows ecosystem into one ecosystem, right? And the ROG Ally. And I've heard people make this argument that, and I just thought of this because what we're talking about, this argument that children are going to game on handhelds, that they don't care about AAA experiences because they play Roblox and Fortnite. They're not invested in ecosystems as much. Maybe. But I think, and it's funny, Nib, and Doomsayer, we're talking about removing certain variables off the table before we went pre-show. I think that argument removes a lot of variables off the table. One, that as we mature, and I'm not saying that there could be more social elements in gaming, because I see that, how my kids interact with like YouTube and influencers. I get that, but I also see them wanting to play on the PC, wanting to play like when they see stuff on, like my son saw Expedition 33 and on the PS5 Pro. By the way, I'm happy with my PS5 Pro purchase. The boost on Expedition 33 is definitely noticeable. And I'm like, I'm glad I got the PS5 Pro, especially in time for Death Stranding 2. But they see a game like that and they're like, oh, I want to play that. That looks amazing. And so, and again, I'm not saying that all kids are like that. I'm just saying some have made that argument that kids, because of their habits and because of their entry points into gaming, are going to game differently than we game. And again, I think that some variables are taken off the table when we say those things, because that's under the assumption that our kids, when they become adults, that they probably will not have a level of disposable income where they might want nice things, or they might want high-end experiences, because that's a thing. I mean, Dib, I'm going to pick on you here for a second, sir. While I'm not a Mercedes fan, I prefer Bavarian Motor. Is it BMW Bavarian Motor?
That is correct. Yeah.
Yes, I prefer Bavarian Motor Works, BMW. I mean, did you grow up driving a Mercedes? I mean, maybe your parents.
No. Okay, so I'm. People won't believe this, but I am agnostic in technology, and I gravitate to what I feel is the best product for me. So, if Xbox provided me better games, I would switch allegiance, or not allegiance, but I would prefer the platform tomorrow, really, truly. And that is the same way I navigate any technology in my life, whether it's TV manufacturers, cars, or whatever. So I've actually cycled through like everything. I've had Audi, Jaguar, BMW, Mercedes, like my previous I went from the M3, BMW M3, and then previous to that, I had an AMG, and then now I'm back to AMG. But it's at the end of the day, it's not like I have to have this or I have to have that. It wasn't like that. It was just, let me sample these cars and let me see what fits for me. I don't even want to get into conversation about cars, but I'll just summarize it. Like, a lot of people say like the BMW is the driver's car, and there's a lot of truth to that, but it depends what sort of driving you want to do. If you want like edgy driving, where there's a lot of traction slip, where you can flick the car about on roundabouts and things like that, if you want to be a bit more playful, then yeah, you probably will enjoy that drive more. But if you want to be more like on rails, if you want to have more like less traction slip and you want to be glued to the road, I found that the Mercedes was better for that. And that's the kind of driving that I like, because I'm always pushing the limit. So I want to be as glued to the road as possible. And then there's other little things like materials or whatever. I think like the BMW interior quality is substantially better than Mercedes, but I still prefer being in a Mercedes interior because I like the design and feel of the buttons and stuff more, like the metal tips and on all the buttons and the gear changing. And anyway, whatever. So let's get into gaming. So, but
but my point is that I think a lot of when I hear that argument, I guess for me it's okay. Well, we're assuming that our kids, as they grow older, may not have disposable income. It also takes off the table that kids are afforded the types of gaming experiences that their parents can afford them or allow them to have, right? So there's that. My scenario is a bit different. My kids are going to grow up, and my kids' interactions with gaming, and I've seen this natural progression. They went from gaming on a Amazon Fire tablet to what the hell is that thing called? It's like is it Turtle something? Some kind of like kids gaming device. I don't know. They came out like 12 years ago, 13. They played on that. But my point is that as they've gotten older, because of the exposure of PC here at the home, PlayStation 5s, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switches, that their experience and their expectations may be different, right?
I agree. So you said earlier about Fortnite.
Yeah.
And again, this is just anecdotal, so it might not be true, but I do have a lot of casual gamers in my family. In fact, like the vast majority of them are casual, not enthusiasts. The kind who all they play is like FIFA, Fortnite, Warzone, etc. Like literally every bloody Christmas party or whatever, like the boys just want to play FIFA tournaments, and I don't even play FIFA. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. But every one of them that I know would not play a Fortnite on a handheld, or would not want to play a Warzone on a handheld, because these guys, you want bigger screens, you want better input, you want to be competitive, right? They all want to be competitive. That's the whole point. Some of them are buying like monitors and stuff now because they think it's going to reduce my input latency or whatever. So even though they're casual gamers, they do want to be competitive in what they play. Whereas on the other side, I could see like people who play like Minecraft or Roblox or, those kind of games, they might be okay. They might be great with playing those kind of games on a handheld. But I think on the competitive side of the live service side, I can't see many casuals preferring to play on a handheld versus like a big screen or monitor experience.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Nib. You said that performance, right? Like wanting that high end performance that you're not going to get on a handheld. And so that's why I'm saying I don't buy into that notion that that children are going to want a kind of a handheld experience, or they're not going to value ecosystems as much. I think that possibly changes, and I'm not going to say that's definitively not going to happen, but I just don't buy into that notion per se that is in fact going to happen when you have when as children become older, they start having disposable income. That those investments in ecosystems could very well be like things. I mean, I don't game the way I used to when I was a kid. Actually, I only, I actually probably game on more devices now than I did when I was a child. And by the way, we did have handheld gaming. The phenomenon of handheld gaming isn't new. It's just never been really successful. The only company that's really been successful at handheld gaming in mass is Nintendo, for those historians out there. But the handheld's not new. We used to have Doomster, you mentioned football games. You remember Mattel used to make the little handheld as a football?
Yeah,
and it had like dots on it. I
the-
forgot what it was called.
I remember the little like arcade box that had the little sticks, the button. You could play football on that, and then you had the flat screen. I know exactly what you're talking about, the Mattel one. I actually had one of those too.
Yeah, with the Sega Game Gear, the Nokia N-Gauge. TurboGrafx had what's that?
Jaguar or something? Was it?
I think it
already have Jaguar?
They had I think they had a handheld Jaguar, if I'm not mistaken. TurboGrafx 16 had a handheld that was almost, for what I remember, seemed like a one-to-one console type experience. Terrible battery life. But we never left to go to handheld. I mean, there was the Game Boy. The Game Boy came out. The Game Boy was like black, like a black and green, looked like an Etch-a-Sketch. The original Game Boy, that is. But for even then, right? We grew up with those things, but we didn't gravitate to those things as we got older. So all I'm saying is that I think there's something to be said for what happens when they have disposable income and they start wanting better experiences.
I feel like kids like do want the adult experiences. They want like the better stuff, right? Like they always want the higher end, really. Like obviously that doesn't mean they're gonna get it, but that is what they gravitate. Yeah. I mean literally they always do. I feel like that's the thing. Like like again, like even one of my relatives is talking about the PS5 Pro, and I'm like, you're a casual FIFA player. What do you want the Pro for? And they're like, oh, but it's gonna improve my gameplay, right? Like I'm gonna be like it's gonna be smoother, and I'll be better inputs. And I was like, okay, like I'm pretty sure the PS5 Pro version is probably still 60 frames per second. I don't know. I don't play FIFA like that, but I did find that really interesting. I was like, okay,
yeah,
like even a casual wants a PS5 Pro just to improve his competitiveness.
I mean, that's my 11-year-old. He does not like playing Fortnite on console. He prefers on PC.
All right, yeah, he wants all the best settings.
Yeah, he says I play better. That's what he says. Because I play better because I get higher frames. I said absolutely.
Doomsday, do you have any children?
Yes, I do. A 9-year-old.
All right, so I mean, because my kid's not that old, right? So obviously, BRAP has said his 11-year-old he wants the latest, greatest, making him poor already. Like with your little one, like what are we saying? What kind of is he into gaming? Like what platforms do or don't interest him?
Okay, I'll give you a real quick rundown. He started gaming, I'm going to say at 2. He was sitting there watching me play.
He's a prodigy.
Well, I don't know. He kicks the shit out of me when it comes to Apex and all that other stuff. But
wait, Doomsayer, how old's your child again?
9.
And he's kicking your ass at Apex?
That's hilarious.
Dude, we got to talk, man.
Crap, listen. I just turned 50 a couple months ago. We
got those old timer reactions now.
Yes.
But Doomsayer, you don't look 50, by the way. So I actually thought you were like in your late 30s. So that's why. But now that you say that,
I kind of look like I'm up there in age.
I don't see that. I've seen you on camera, but yeah, that's why I was giving you shit because I thought you were younger than what you said. But now that you said 50, yeah, okay, I can see that. Arthritis starts kicking in a little bit. I get it.
I've had carpal tunnel surgery on both hands.
Okay, there you go.
And so because they're starting to bother, that's no excuse. But
no, that's legitimate though. I mean that yeah.
It's especially with the work I do. I'm always using my wrist in that.
Pause.
Sorry about that.
You gotta say pause after that.
Was it like does your job entail Pornhub out of curiosity?
My wife would I'm not even going to say what my wife would wind up doing. We'll just skip that part. Anyway, But yeah, he started at Battlefield probably around 2. He was watching me play multiplayer, got stuck to it. He has an Xbox, a Series S. I bought him a couple years ago, and that's all he played on. And then he got a Nintendo Switch. He hardly ever touches that. He has a Logitech handheld. He played that on Christmas Day and has never touched it since. All he does, he plays on his PS5 and he plays on his MetaQuest. That's all he plays on. Because that's
How much was the Logitech handheld?
$359, I think it was. Or no, $299 because I got it through Amazon's July sale or whatever. That's where I got his Series S, his PlayStation, his MetaQuest, and his Logitech all through Amazon when they do their sales and that. I got good prices on it, so yeah, that's all he plays. I mean, he just beat The Last of Us. He beat Left Behind. He just beat The Last of Us 2
at 9 years old.
Yeah, I picked him up the other day from.
He's 9. Wait, he's 9. He's beat The Last of Us, and what else?
He beat the DLC Left Behind.
Oh my gosh!
He's platinumed a bunch of games. He platinumed Astrobot, the one that came with the PS5, and almost platinumed.
Dude, your son is a gamer.
He's beaten Ghost of Tsushima. He's even done Iki Island.
Wait, he beat Ghost of Tsushima?
Yes. I can have him come down. Brad, listen, after the show, I'll shoot you my gamer tag in that. You can just look for BK Butterfish or something like that. I think that's what his name is. And just look at his.
Oh, you don't give that out loud.
No, don't give out his bloody name. He's 9 years old.
Don't worry, because he's probably going to wind up changing it tomorrow because he constantly keeps asking me for money to change it. He changes it at least once a week. So
AC says gaming prodigy. I don't disagree. I think you have a gaming prodigy.
But what about the violence and stuff? Are you not you don't mind about that stuff?
Nib, I'm going to say this really quiet.
Yeah, go on. I'm sure no one will hear
trouble, man.
What goes on in this house, it doesn't even compare to what goes on.
You know, the funny story about that, when I was young, because I was the same thing. My wife says I'm probably a bit fucked up now because of my childhood, but when I was little, I used to watch manga. You know, I used to watch Fist and an All-Star and Akira and Ninja Scroll and stuff like that as a young kid and teen, right?
Nib, did you watch? I gotta ask you. You mentioned Akira. Did you watch when it came out? Did you? At the time, there was only did you watch it in Japanese?
I watched it in both. Yeah, I've seen it in both.
When it came out, there was only I only had access to the Japanese copy. We had a copy.
Yeah.
I watched. I had no idea what they were saying.
Yeah. It was crazy.
But I was. I mean,
enthralled.
back then, enthralled.
Enthralled. No, same. And then this is the thing, right? So I'm in school. I can't remember how old I was, but I'm describing Ninja Scroll and Fist and All-Star to my mates, right? And and his head blew up, and then there's this woman ninja chick, and he's this, and obviously she's gets raped and stuff, and then I think the teacher overheard, and she called my parents in,
my God.
and was like, "What the hell? Your son should not be watching this stuff, and this is way too." And then, they kind of told me off for a bit, but then, all right, he seems normal to me as long as he's doing good in studies and he's getting A's. We don't really care. So it was one of those. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of that with his kid. Imagine playing Last of Us at 9 years old. Crazy.
Hey, this kid, he's done Roblox. Okay, so he plays that with his friends and everything. But the stuff that he watches on YouTube, that's where I have to watch. Because there's been some stuff that he's had on his tablet. I'm like, whoa. You can't watch that. Because I saw that on TikTok. No, you're not going to where this guy is going with this because I already saw the video. I do have to stop him, but he loves horror games. I don't know what it is, but man, he just loves the horror games. And the thing is I pick him up from daycare the other day, and we're driving back to the house. He's like, Daddy, he says, which game did you like? Did you like Last of Us 1 or The Last of Us 2? I'm like, well, I like The Last of Us 1 just because of the story and that. He's like, but Last of Us 2 had so much action, and then you had the big Rat King coming after you, and I was able to do things like this, and I think Abby's cool. And I'm like, man, where the hell did
Yo,
where the hell
Doomsayer, let me say, your son is a man of taste. I can tell you right now. He
He's a
is
man
a
of taste.
man of
He is.
taste. Because he's talking about like the gameplay mechanics and the pacing and then the kind of production or whatever the set pieces. I agree with him, man. I honestly think Last of Us 2. Yeah.
he,
And Doomsayer, that's impressive that he at 9 that he's talking about set pieces, right?
Yeah.
oh yeah. Well, see,
Like-
see, another thing too is he's read, I think, 7 of the Wild Robot books. We have had him into a tutor program with his first grade teacher, and he just got done school. He's almost at I think
He's a prodigy.
fifth grade reading level, and he's going
Doomsayer, you have you're raising Doogie Howser, man.
I don't know about Doogie Howser. He does want to become a veterinarian. We just picked up the dog yesterday too, and he's like glued to the doctor.
Doomsayer, you are raising this guy. You're this guy. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call him this guy. Your son is a prodigy.
I don't know if he's a prodigy.
Dude, he's let me tell you something. Kids can't read these days. Like I don't mean to get on a rant about the US education system. Clearly it's failed us. But your son's reading at a 5th grade level. He's in 1st grade.
No. He's going into 4th grade.
Okay.
Next
Never
year.
mind.
He's at a 5th grade. I think it's a 5th grade level.
I think you're being modest. He probably reads like at a 9th grade level.
No, I don't know. I'm not.
Probably
I'm not go that
probably
far.
speaks like William Shakespeare.
No, the way that he speaks is, especially to my wife, is basically he might be 35 the way he speaks to her.
Oh my God.
Wait a minute.
Good morning. Good morning, mother.
He really
Good morning, mother.
sophisticated with his
I'm
words.
going to go and play
Mother,
Last of Us 2 now.
Mother, it's a pleasant day outside, mother.
To with her. That's funny. But so we can't really use your son as a metric for what kids want to play these days, because that's not really a traditional kid, like in his interest of the gaming sense.
That's all I can tell you is he does not want to game on a handheld. He has the Portal. He'll take that like here and there on vacation, that kind of stuff. But he likes being in front of his TV. I set up his bedroom, all, big screen TV and, all
Okay,
stuff.
but see, this is my point though.
MetaQuest.
But Doomsayer, this is my point. This goes back to people taking things off the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, your son's expectations are probably going to be, my dad, I'm used to having big screen TVs for gaming experience. I'm going to get old. When I'm older, I'm probably going to want to have that or better. Oh,
he's already sat there, and I told him, I said, if you break this TV, you're going to have to go to the other one. He's like, what? The other one that's like 10 years old, Daddy, and it doesn't have, the FPS stuff. And I'm like,
wow, he knows. See, he knows.
I'm like, wait a minute.
No, Dad.
And then he plays around with the remote, and he
looks at the TV that doesn't have VRR.
He watches a lot of YouTube stuff, so he gets, things like that. Like, he wanted the Pro. I'm like, what do you want the Pro for? He's like, because it makes gaming better. I'm like, what do you mean better?
So
like,
this
better,
is
stuff that better on the
sounds like a brother-in-law, the younger one.
But this is what I'm saying though. Like this idea that kids won't want better or have that expectation. I'm not saying all kids, but I think just to have that argument and just kind of do the hand wavy thing. But, oh well, that's the future. They don't care about ecosystems. They're just going to play on a handheld device because that's how they're groomed. It's like no. Their taste can obviously evolve. We don't all like the same things we did as children.
No. I will say as well, like he mentioned Last of Us, and this is the thing, like
got great taste in gaming, but
but I was gonna say, like, we always think that like casual games is just sort of Call of Duty and GTA. But like, let's just say Call of Duty, right? Like, obviously, we don't know updated sales of the newer releases, but we have an idea.
500 million.
Yeah, but we have an idea from like the last decade, like let's just say between 16 million and I believe it's 34 million or something like that units. And if obviously like that's multi-platform. So if we were to discern just the PlayStation percentage, again, I'm not talking about today. I know because of Game Pass now, there's been a lot of cannibalization of the sales on Xbox, but I'm talking back in the day. It's like 50% roughly of PlayStation. So if 50% sales of say 16 to 34 million, we're talking about what, like let's just average out to like let's just be generous and say 20-21 million or even 25 million. The thing is, some of these PlayStation exclusives now are selling like 15, 20, 25, 27 million copies. And even when you deduct the PC side of things, they're still at that level. So they are actually in the same space as casual games, or actually more than a lot of casual games. Like Uncharted 4 or whatever is at 17 million last figure. God of War Ragnarok is at 20 something million, I believe. Like Horizon Forbidden West, even, which is a new IP, is at 24.3 million. And then even Ghost of Tsushima, as again a new IP, is at 13 plus million. So it's like these games are doing huge numbers in the casual sphere of things, especially something like Last of Us and God of War. And I really do think, like, because they are in the casual sphere now, even kids are cognizant of these kind of titles and do want to play them. Again, the younger brother-in-law, who's more of a casual gamer, he played Spider-Man and Last of Us, and he generally only plays FIFA and FIFA and Fortnite, and I think he dabbles in Warzone as well. But he will every now and again divert to only these like bigger kind of, maybe because he's heard his friends talk about it or something. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I should really ask him. But yeah, even he will play those kind of games, and that's why I think like that is one of the reasons why certain platforms still appeal even to the casual market with these exclusives, because these exclusives are bridging the line between just enthusiasts and casuals.
Nib, he has beaten all 3 Spider-Man 2. So
there we go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I will say this. I do think that the difference is, well, like that I could like versus my childhood gaming versus my kids. There's definitely access to more. There's more ways to interact with video games. Mobile devices, TV now, like Netflix. So there's more ways for them to pick up gaming content. But I'm just not subscribing to this absolute idea that this in fact is going to be the way kids will game or future adults will game. I mean, maybe that could happen, but I don't think I don't think that is definitively going to happen, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the case.
I want to bring this up. And everybody sits there and says the game catalog library that you are already, establishing in that. Is that something that they honestly want to leave behind too? I mean, I don't know. If you sit there and you have, say, 100 or 200 games in that, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, okay, well, I'm going to go over here, and now I have to rebuy everything all over again.
Do you mean from PlayStation to Xbox, or
like PlayStation to PC? Like you can buy your PlayStation games, and then you have to go and rebuy them again over at Steam. I mean, I don't know if that's what they would want to do either.
No, I agree. I don't think many would, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, obviously we don't know. Like I always say, it's a weird one because I'm sure there are console people moving over to PC. Especially because streamers and stuff use PC, etc. But on the other side of the spectrum, there are also people who move from PC to console. I am one of them. I actually used to primary PC, but I do think like sometimes, like obviously not everyone. This is just me personally. I just don't have as much time for tinkering and tankering and whatever and all the rest of it. I just like the kind of ease and convenience of console play, and actually I still actually prefer buying my physical games. And it's really weird. It's not even because I sell or trade them like I used to before. It's oftentimes just because my cousins and my brother-in-law, my family and stuff, they borrow games like constantly, and I'll borrow games off them. And it's just the culture of our kind of lifestyle and our family, I guess. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, like the ease of console has brought me to it, and based on, again, PlayStation's data, I can only go by like the recent quarterly result, like the holiday quarterly result. I think they sold 4 point something million or something PS5s. Yeah, they no, it was much more than that. But they said 42% of all the PS5 sold that quarter, which was a record-breaking quarter, was to people who are new to PlayStation. And that was a really fascinating figure to me, because it's like, hold on a minute, almost half the people who bought a PS5 in the highest record quarter that you ever had are new to PlayStation. So where the hell are they coming from then? They can't all just be new to gaming. They must also be coming from other platforms. And you know, PlayStation, and PlayStation keep telling us, their executives keep telling us. I've literally made like 3 tweets with 3 different clips of 3 different executives talking about how their PC strategy is not just to get additive sales, it's to bring PC players over to console. And the PC cats always say to me, you must be crazy, PC people will never move over to PlayStation. And the PlayStation executives keep telling us that it's working. And what they say is, like, when they'll play a game on PC, and if they enjoy the IP, if they can't be bothered to wait for the games anymore, and they'll just go and pick up a PlayStation 5 or whatever as an additional console, as a secondary device, and play the game there. And not just the new users coming to PlayStation gives me the notion that actually might be true, but also the sales of PlayStation games on PC makes me think that might be true as well, because something like God of War Ragnarok that can sell 20-something million on PlayStation but come to PC and only sell like 1.2 million or whatever it was out the gate, over a few weeks or whatever, that's quite a differential. Which makes me think that a lot of PC gamers who were interested in playing God of War Ragnarok probably already played it on PlayStation. At least the ones who are interested in that game.
You know what's interesting too? When I heard the argument that kids don't value ecosystems as much, and I'm like, well, kids are already being conditioned to value ecosystems in music, other forms of entertainment like movies, Netflix. But like, even from a game perspective, Fortnite, I mean, that within itself is an ecosystem where you invest in skins. I mean, I hear the conversation to kids, oh my gosh, like, I got this skin. Like my son, for the longest time, I made the mistake of letting him use my Fortnite account. The problem is now is that he has unlocked and then purchased with V-Bucks different skins, and now he doesn't want to lose all that, right? So I mean, so again, there's that investment in ecosystems and the value of ecosystems. So I don't buy that notion that they're not going to value ecosystems the way we do when they're being conditioned to do so already. I do want to move over to Marathon real quick, gentlemen, because that was in the news again, and just some quick thoughts about Marathon.
BRAP, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I read a comment. I was on the podcast with you like the other day, and I read one of the comments in the YouTube, and then said, BRAP, your long pauses make me think I've lost connection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Listen. I listened Monday. I'm sitting there, and I wanted to say that to you, Brad, before the show started, and I apologize right now. But I'm sitting there, I'm listening to the show on Monday, Friday night. He starts out on a question, and then it goes into erectile dysfunction, or it goes into weight.
Yeah, this is me.
No. You'll start asking somebody a question, and then it goes to an ad with this, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Like, what is it, BRAP? Is your wife super hot or something? Like, when she walks past, do you just like brain freeze? Like, what's going on?
That's actually pretty much what happens. So I think she does it on purpose, wears like revealing outfits, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm podcasting.
Especially during summer, do you know what I mean? Like that, yeah.
Oh yeah, especially during summer. It's like, come on, like, put some clothes on.
Yeah. But anyway,
But
yeah, sorry.
no,
You were saying.
actually, when I was doing the show the other week, I was watching a professional wrestling, and so I was distracted because I'm a big professional wrestling fan. So I was watching SmackDown, and so that was on, and then I'm like, oh, like looking at the TV. I purposely turned it off because I knew I was doing that, so I don't have the TV running in the background. But that happens sometimes. I'll have the TV running, I just get distracted easily. So, but yeah, I do just quick thoughts on Marathon real quick, and then open up to the panel here. I gotta say, I think the optics of a potential, I think the stealing of assets was a PR issue for them, but this game seems like it's got with that, and now we know that the game was originally slated for a September 23rd, 2025 release. It's been delayed now. I don't want to say this game's in trouble, but I don't have a good feeling about this game. And some of that in part is Bungie's own doing with some issues internally that are well documented. I think this game is facing some headwinds, serious headwinds. Again, I'm not saying it's going to fail. I know a lot of people like, oh, it's going to fail. Maybe, but I think that with the unlicensed artwork, which that triggered a full audit of the game's assets and internal process. We know that was kind of a PR nightmare. The issues at Bungie internally with staff, we've read stories about the poor morale. I think there was a lawsuit between one of the old executives there at Bungie. I don't remember all the details of that. Some insiders are saying that this development is facing a lot. The development of this game is facing a lot of issues. Again, grain of salt. Insiders, I'll take that with a grain of salt. But I don't know. I have some concerns about this. I mean, again, Bungie's not waving the white flag here, and Sony hasn't come in and canceled it. But I don't know. I think things are looking a little iffy here, in my opinion. Again, I'll say this. It's good that they delayed the game because there are definitely some issues that were brought up as a result of that, the alpha.
Yeah, I mean, I've said from the get-go, I don't know, like, I just feel, I apologize to anyone who is interested or whatever. Obviously, this is just my take. When I saw Fair Games and when I saw Marathon, neither appealed to me in terms of the art direction, the style, or whatever. And the thing with Marathon in particular, like I do really enjoy Destiny, but like I feel like the technology is getting long in the tooth, and we need like a kind of almost like a current gen or next gen only sort of like overhaul. But when I saw Marathon, I'm like, I don't know, like to me, even if you told me this was a PS4 game, I would believe you. Like it didn't have any semblance of like a technological advancement. The art style was okay. It's like, I don't know, it wasn't really for my cup of tea. So yeah, just across the board, even the gameplay, it didn't look that inspired to me. And maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe I just haven't quite connected. But yeah, again, it's similar to Concord. Like I did play Concord, the beta or whatever. I put a lot of hours into it. And even though I do think there was some compelling aspects of it, and there was some okay gameplay elements, straight off the bat, I was like this. I said on Mooch's podcast, I think this is doomed to die very quickly. Like it's not going to have a long shelf life at all. And that was partly because of the progression and the all the content unlocks and things like that. Like it just didn't have enough meat on the bones. So again, I don't know the extent of that to Marathon, but I would say my initial impression on Concord was fairly in line with what the masses responded, and I would say I just maybe Marathon and Fair Games is going to be a similar thing. Like I just can't see them being that electric, but maybe the content and maybe on release will change our mind. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Doomsayer, what do you think?
I have nothing on Marathon because I never played Destiny, and I never wanted to play Destiny, and I looked at this and I'm like, I don't even want to play this. I don't know what the hell to tell. I do think it was probably a bad idea to buy Bungie, but With this game, listen, if you have to sit there, you're not satisfied with what it's doing, the way it looks, you're not happy at all, cancel it, or put it to the side, start doing your thing of, hey, we got to get this straight, and start fixing things and get it into a better condition. But I think it's a good idea that they put it to the shelf right now, and just try to work on things to make things better. But I have no interest in the game whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just being honest on that.
Yeah, I don't know. Nip, to your point about like when you first saw Marathon and Concord, my early impressions of those games too, just visually looking at the games, I just okay. You know what I mean? I also said the same thing about Helldivers too, and look how that turned out. But at least for me with Bungie has clearly we're all aware of the storied history around Bungie, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Something just seems off with this game.
I agree.
And part of it just seems like the drama at Bungie, the stuff with the art, the assets, and now this the feedback on the alpha. I mean, people were pretty critical of like lack of concerns about gameplay depth, the feel of the combat, missing features like proximity chat, solo duo support. Like, look, I think it's great that they're going back to the drawing board, but I don't know, something just
it is. And the thing is as well, like, this is Bungie. Bro, how many bloody live service games have you guys done? And you're making these rookie errors? Like, why should the public have to tell you about these things? Like, you're supposed to be the experts. You're supposed to be the one who PlayStation brought in to advise the other studios on live service projects, and may have even been somewhat responsible for what happened with Last of Us Factions 2. I understand, like, they cancelled it because they couldn't support it, blah blah blah. But the kind of rumors were that internally Bungie was advising them on it or whatever. Like, and now you have this beta or closed beta or whatever alpha, and you're having to get this much feedback on it. I don't know. Like you said, something doesn't add up here. Like, what is going on? What is going on at that studio? And it's not like it's a small number of people. Like, it's a huge. It might actually be PlayStation's biggest studio instead of headcount, alongside Naughty Dog, I think. So yeah, like, they're not going to be cheap to run. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tubes.
I just wanted to say this real quick to wrap. If I was in charge of Bungie or whatever, or just got appointed, I'd be sitting there telling everybody, listen, I want everybody to get the hell out of here. You're going to take a month off. You're going to try to re-energize, get, clear your head in that, and then come back and start, make it look like you're starting fresh. I mean, when I'm at work, I do that, step aside for a couple minutes and then come back, and you're able to think. I just, like Nibble was sitting there saying, you're making rookie mistakes when you've done a ton of Halo games, Destiny. I mean, wasn't Marathon originally from or for the Apple before they did what is it, Halo? Or Microsoft took Halo away from Apple or something like that? Wasn't Marathon already?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Originally, yeah.
And then Halo was actually debuted at I think Macworld or something at Apple event.
That's
correct.
And then Microsoft, I think it was Ed Freeze. I could be wrong. I believe it was Ed Freeze who saw the game and then said, like, and then the rest is history.
But I just think they need to clear their heads, get away from this stuff, and try to refocus and all that, and try to come back and say, we're going to put our best to this, and we're going to make it run smooth, and that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
I tell you,
I agree.
I tell you what, like, I think you, if I remember correctly, I think you brought up this point, Nib, that this is Bungie. And so, like, and that's probably part of the reason why I think something's off, because again, I know development isn't easy. Game development's not easy by the stretch of the imagination, especially development of an extraction shooter. Not easy. I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, or live service. But if anyone's pulled off live service,
Mhm.
or has had success doing live service and multiplayer, it's been Bungie.
Yeah.
Halo. I mean, they
Yeah.
literally look what they did with Destiny.
Yeah.
I mean, that was such a game changer.
It was. I mean, like, I remember the response to playing the beta of Destiny. I feel like the whole
Mhm.
world was enamored. Like, obviously, when the final game came out, and you were like, "Wait, the beta was basically the full game." Like, then the cracks started to appear. But the actual when I don't know, I can't speak for other people, but I just know in my circles when we played that beta, like, we were blown away. We were like, "Oh my god, it really is the next evolution of Halo," and like the broad scope and everything like that, and with your buddies and everything, like. Yeah, it seemed amazing. But to go from that to marathon, I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems weird to me. That's why a part of me, and I could be really wrong, but a part of me is hoping and praying that, half the studio or whatever is working on something else. That's going to be much more appealing. I'm not saying necessarily a Destiny 3, though I would personally take a Destiny 3, but something else. Because I hope it hasn't all been on marathon. That would be severely disappointing to me.
I think they are working on another project. I'd have to double check. Maybe if someone in the live chat wants to double check, but I do think that they are working on another project. But again, I mean, just my history with Bungie and Halo, and then we all remember the impact of Destiny, right? I mean, like, Destiny was actually, I think, in part reason why the PlayStation 4 console was so successful too early on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because I mean, there were certain weapons that you just couldn't get.
No. Yeah.
I mean, literally, I remember people buying PlayStation 4s so that they could get the weapon unlocks, and they were good weapons. I forget some of the like pistols that were like, and I remember when they finally came over to the Xbox, they were all nerfed, and the PlayStation people were making fun of us. But no, I mean, it was such an impact on the Destiny was on console gaming. It's just odd to see this level of I don't know, the fumbling and the struggling
disconnect.
by
Yeah,
them.
no. I agree. It is really weird because, like, yeah, I mean, going back to Destiny, and I know, again, this is one of those things where, like, when you've been gaming as long as we've been gaming, right? Like, it's hard to have something that really captivates you and takes you away like that. But genuinely, I think the first raid in D1. I think it was like one of my all-time favorite gaming moments.
Gosh,
I'm not
the Vault of Glass. Do you remember that was incredible?
Oh my gosh, like, unbelievable. I almost got beaten up by my wife over it because, like, because I was playing with a mix of people, and then some were like American and stuff, and when the first time you did it, it was almost like a puzzle. Like, you're like confused, like, what do you do, where, and everyone was hooked. I didn't want to get off, so I'm playing this like through the AMs, and at that time, like, I had my TV in my bedroom. My wife, like, I was in the middle of that. She's like,
your wife was. I'm surprised your wife didn't kill you. The TV in the bedroom.
I know.
You're playing. Oh, what happened?
No, you just hear, like, all my mates on the mic. They just hear, "Shut the fuck up." And I was like, "Yo, guys, I'm not gonna be able to communicate. I'm gonna have to whisper." And then they were like, "Bro, you're a handicap right now. We need your communication."
Oh my goodness!
So funny. It was so funny.
Think of Vault of Glass. Like, I remember playing Vault of Glass the first time, that raid, and never experiencing anything like that before. Like on console, right?
Yeah.
And that's because we hadn't experienced anything like that on console. Those kinds of experiences have been regulated mostly to PC at the time. So to have that, and the way they designed Vault of Glass, by the way,
oh my god,
the puzzle, platforming elements, the FPS elements.
So, like, I guess it basically was like sort of like an RPG MMO, but in the shooter sphere almost, because they had all these like mechanics, like puzzles and things you had to work out, platforming segments, and there was a lot of like group coordination to take out bosses and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I genuinely, like, one of my favorite aspects of gaming at the time, like, just unbelievable. So again, like, to see what they're doing right now, it doesn't compute with me. I'm just thinking, where's this Bungie gone? Like, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean it's shocking, and it's like, imagine if Naughty Dog was making a game
Yeah.
and it was in development hell. We'd all be like,
Yeah,
"Whoa,
yeah,
wait a minute! Like, what's going on over
yeah.
there?" You know?
But
And-
yeah, I mean, I will say to that point, a lot of games have, because Naughty Dog actually was in development hell for Uncharted 4. They actually had to redo a lot of that game twice.
oh, they did, yes. When
Yeah, yeah.
Amy Hennig was there, and
Exactly, yeah. And to that point, actually, I remember Corey Barlog. I think actually that's how you pronounce it. Corey Barlog. He was saying like there was actually a time, almost like just a year before God of War was released, 2018, where he thought the game was shit. Like he was like,
well, Yoshida came in and gave it a thumbs down. He was like, "No, this
yeah,
isn't it." Yeah.
yeah, they were. He was like, literally like it wasn't coming together. Obviously, like it just sometimes it's like the final stages is the glue, and it's just not a cohesive thing. Even though you have the vision of it, it's like hasn't quite come together. And he was really nervous that it's going to be a big flop. But
Yeah.
then in the final year, they managed to pull it all together and polish it all up. And I think even Last of Us, like from what I remember reading, was similar as well. Obviously, back then you had crunch and stuff as well, so it probably was a bit different. But yeah, so I'm not saying like it's necessarily the end for Marathon. Maybe in this delay, they could, like do a lot better. But I'm not hopeful. Let's put it that way.
I was just thinking too, Nib and Doomsayer, is that if this, I think there's probably extra set of eyes on this too because it's Bungie. Hey, what's going on, Nate? Nate, hopefully you're keeping cool out there, man. It's like 100 degrees, 100 plus, I think.
Absolutely.
But you got to keep those PCs cool, by the way, too. But I think a lot of it too is that there's a lot of eyes on this because it's a Bungie game, right? This is Bungie's newest game since Destiny, right? And Destiny was, I think we all agree here, a success, right?
And post acquisition, so it's like
post acquisition,
this is in a way it's a representative of PlayStation now. So like if they fuck things up, it's going to look bad on PlayStation. Like
all the fanboys are going to come out. Whoa, look, PlayStation still can't make a multiplayer game. And
no,
it's like,
yeah, but maybe there is an element of truth to that though. Like maybe fundamentally, like because like the thing is, I will always say I think PlayStation has an uncanny eye for certain types of quality. Even the partnerships they do with like indie games and with third parties and stuff, like some of them do flop, sure, don't get me wrong, some of them flop, but a lot of them have been really exceptional. Even like picking games like Sifu and what's the one with the like Kena, Bridge of Spirits and stuff like that. They do choose a lot of great games. But on the multiplayer side, I'm just not sure, dude. Like, because I feel like again, like if it was me, I wouldn't have even.
I have to say this. Okay, I was never a huge Halo fan. I've played all the games. I think the lore and the campaigns are great. I just never got into their multiplayer. But Nib, you sitting there saying that, I was a huge Resistance fan, and then even bigger until Sony got hacked. All I did was play Killzone 3 for hours and hours and hours. I couldn't stop playing that. I even skipped, I think I skipped the Gears of War 3 beta, the multiplayer beta, because I just couldn't get away from Killzone 3.
If we're going that far back, I agree. Like my one was Killzone 2. Like I literally played that religiously. So I was actually fortunate because I managed to get into the closed beta. I don't think it was even a beta. I think it was a closed alpha. If I remember correctly, I was playing it like 8 or 9 months before everyone else. And I actually broke the bloody NDA. So I actually posted screenshots of my screen, like in NeoGAF, I think it was, and like the Sony ninjas got me. It's like, but like the reason was because I didn't remember signing any NDA or anything. I was like, I managed to get into this thing, So I was like, oh, they won't mind. Like, like I'm sure they won't mind because I'm kind of at the end of the day, I'm promoting the game. I'm pushing it up. But I guess they just didn't want people to see it that soon. But yeah, I just remember like being blown away, especially visually and atmosphere, like so brutal, and like I genuinely couldn't believe my eyes. Like every time I was playing it, I was like, this cannot be real. Like people ain't gonna even believe me. And obviously, like it did. It came out. But I will say, to the point you're making, just because we loved those games, I don't think the masses did.
Right,
Because
right.
they weren't that popular. So
It's
hence,
just like what was it, SOCOM
Yeah,
confrontation. I
yeah,
played the shit out of that, and the reason why, main reason I got that was because of the Bluetooth headset. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, I get a headset with this, but I played that a lot, and then Metal Gear 4. I was addicted to that for a couple of months. I couldn't stop playing that. That actually got me off of Call of Duty Modern Warfare for a couple of months. And that was actually a pretty good multiplayer, but yeah, I don't know, they got an eye for all these story-based games, but yeah, when it does come to multiplayer, they do kind of struggle, man.
Yeah, I think like
yeah.
again, I could really be wrong, but I think like with I think it was someone actually from Bungie, maybe even like who said this, but they said this thing, which is weird that we're talking about them flopping on this, but I think it was them. Maybe you guys can correct me. Someone was saying like in game design, I think it was every like 30 seconds you need a compelling new thing or a feature or something that happens in your game world to keep gamers hooked. And I think like fundamentally the thing is, pardon me, the thing is with like Call of Duty and Fortnite and whatever, all these kind of very popular multiplayer games, is that they have like instant gratification and constant like progression that is almost like a casino addiction, almost like with the unlocks and with the with whatever packages you get and this and that, and even Apex Legends, like trying to get legendaries and all of this. They have this infallible thing where you're just like, oh, just one more so I can unlock this, just one more so I can get this, just one more so I can get this clip, this barrel, or this thing. They just have that fine tuned to such a T where even if you're not necessarily great at the game, there's still something constantly compelling you to go forward and rewarding you. And because they're Twitch shooters and kind of almost reaction based sometimes than skill based, I'm not saying they're not skillful, but if you manage to catch someone off like from behind or whatever, because the TTK, the time to kill, is so low, you can still kill people. So even casuals can feel rewarded. Like, yes, I killed someone. Whereas, like, even with the kill zones and even Halo, actually, like, I would say probably the skill ceiling is a bit higher, especially when you throw in nades and everything else with it to get rid of shields and stuff like that. Like, it's a higher skill ceiling, and that's why I don't think they've been as popular in the current age where people are all about like instant gratification and constant reward.
Let me grab the super chat here from Warwana. $2 super chat says, I was so fortunate my missus played Destiny as well. Oh, he lucked out. You didn't have your missus cussing at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see SOCOM a lot, but I think it was Doomsayer or Dib's point that maybe a game that didn't really appeal to the masses. I think that this is gonna I don't know. I just, if this game doesn't, I guess my question would be, what happens to Bungie if this game isn't successful? Do we see Sony really put the grips and vices on Bungie as a developer and have more influence on what happens? But I will say this, like, one of the things that's interesting, and this is why I also feel like this game might have some trouble being a success. Assuming it doesn't do some of the things you mentioned, Nib, well, right? It could end up being this game that has this great hook that everyone loves. But one of the things kind of interesting came out of the State of the Game Industry 2025 from GDC, the Game Developers Conference, was that for gaming discovery, this is part of that survey. Word of mouth was the most effective marketing tool, with social media coming in at a close second. And I'm thinking the word of mouth of this right now, the optics of it isn't good. So I think there's probably a lot of eyes, a lot of pressure for this game to do well. And if it doesn't, I just wonder what that means for Bungie, because you know that a lot of people are going to be talking about, well, what went wrong with this acquisition? I think, like you said, Nib and Dupe said, this is the first game post acquisition.
So here's the thing, like I think again, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if it's Jason Schreier or it might have been Stephen Totillo, I'm not sure which one of them pushed the story. But you know that I read through one of them that there's this thing about how PlayStation essentially will take control of the studio if certain parameters aren't met and certain sales metrics aren't met. And I believe they were already close to taking over control. And they did some layoffs and moved some stuff around to try and maintain it. But there is the chance that, like, maybe again, we don't know. Like maybe PlayStation views being able to take full authority as a positive in terms of future releases and future output. Because we're saying something feels off. Like, what are they doing? Like, maybe it's part of a longer play. I don't know. I have no idea. But I can't imagine they would want to lose money like this. So yeah, it's a really interesting thing. Like, it doesn't really fully make sense. And I just think, like, I don't know. I'm thinking, how do they green light this, and how does even Bungie make this mistake? So is there some internal turmoil going on at the studio or something? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. And Nate, what are your thoughts on Marathon?
I mean, the trouble for me is it's pretty hard to get me into some of the multiplayer in general these days. I did play Destiny for years. I played Destiny 1 pretty much the entire time. And a lot like Warwana, Priscilla played with me. And then we went into Destiny 2 and so on. But yeah, pretty much, honestly, I was already concerned the way I quit Destiny 2. Just because it felt like they were just losing a lot of steam and they just couldn't really get anything substantial going in that game, content release wise, which is a big reason why I quit. As well as like not really listening to player feedback until later. Again, like later they did a bunch of stuff players wanted again, but all too little, too late. Um, and again, the ability to react to player feedback appropriately is incredibly important for these types of games. Um, like I said, I don't play extraction shooters, but I know a couple people who are super into obviously the most popular one, Tarkov. And again, that's another big important thing. So they definitely can't show up with this title and just do whatever they want. So I'm interested to see what's going on. I know they're doing some of the closed testing and stuff like that. And Herman, reiterated, we're retesting and we're doing this and that. So I don't know, man. It's looking rough. Like the outlook. I explained to somebody the other day. When it comes to, I mean, really any game, right? But especially multiplayer. If you're showing me this thing that is supposed to break into the market and the fanfare is not there when you show this thing, like to me, like I don't know, man. You're launching into a tough spot if you're launching with something where a lot of people just don't really seem like they're on board. And even some of the really multiplayer heavy people that I've seen that did get to test it, were not feeling it. And I mean, that's not a good thing. Like if you can't rope in the people who really love to, make sure they catch, 100%, or double XP weekends and so on. Like I'm not really sure who your market is going to end up being. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a really uphill battle for them. I think it already was before the whole art theft thing. And that did not help. So, yeah, I mean, the quote unquote delayed indefinitely, um, you know, thing. I mean, it seems appropriate right now. I'm sure they're scrambling and trying to find whatever they can to get, this, I don't know, this passion project of theirs off the ground. It's somebody's baby, because they just refuse to ever give up on this idea. Um, Honestly, even in a climate where it's not like extraction shooters were big in the first place. So, yeah, I mean, someone's gonna force this out at the end of the day, from what it seems like, unless someone finally is just like, yeah, this ain't it, and cuts them off. So, I mean, I'm interested to see what happens, but yeah, I personally, I don't see us, I don't see us touching it, within 100 feet. Like it just, it's just not, it's not appealing for me or anyone that I personally game with. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do, man. It's not looking good.
Yeah, so you kind of have the same optics, I think, as the rest of the panel here. That something just seems a bit off. Doesn't look good.
Let
for
me
this
ask
game.
you another question, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a lot of followers and mutuals. Name someone in the community that you know that is really excited for this game. One person.
Henry is Henry Heck is one of the homies from Thrifty Show.
Okay.
He is a massive multiplayer guy, and
Okay.
he did play the closed beta or alpha or whatever they want to call it,
Okay.
and he was super hype. Like he was
Okay.
like, oh man,
What did he love about it?
get it going. I mean, essentially the stuff that people typically like with Bungie, right?
Okay.
He felt the gameplay was really tight, the gunplay, which again they always do really well, right? He liked the gunplay, he liked the dynamic between the different powers, and just like the possibilities for mixing all the teams, and stuff like that. Did say he felt like the intensity was there. It got him excited, like he wanted to jump in and keep playing. Um, I did mention to him, to me, one of the big key components of, to me at least, nowadays, is like a game that is heavily team based like that is definitely going to want to cater to someone who's also playing solo. Because I was like, every night you get on, the homies are not going to be on, you know? So I was like, yeah, you're definitely going to need to make sure they take care of that when it comes to good single player options, right? Um, so when you're playing solo, you want to drop in, um, and not necessarily, I guess, play with randoms. But if you are, everybody else needs to be playing with randoms and stuff like that. So, um, I mean, he felt like it wasn't going to be too much of an issue. Like I said, he did enjoy at least what little bit he did get to play during that alpha weekend or whatever.
Okay. Fair
So
enough.
yeah.
So
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 he
there
was
there
like,
are some. There are some.
yeah, there are definitely some. I think he's more excited for the idea because I mean he is like the multiplayer go-to person
Mhm.
for them. So he really wants it to work. Like I said, my problem is like I'm already pretty steadfast in the idea of how extraction shooters work. I don't like. Um, like there's other stuff that Bungie has said, which again, this is not their fault. Like this is supposedly how it works, right? Like you know how they talk about, you gain the loot and you extract with it, right? Well, I mean, constantly the idea of constantly losing it is basically another problem is it's basically a multiplayer version of a roguelike where you're constantly like you could constantly be set back or get something really cool and then just get murdered on extraction. Like that was actually one of the biggest annoyances when I even played the Division 2. Um I hated having to go into the dark zone and then getting
Well,
something
I
and
I,
then
I like the
extract it.
Dark Zone, by the way.
Well, no, I like fighting in general in the dark zone,
I
and I
I
don't
I
mind
enjoy, I
exploring.
enjoy that thrill of like, okay, I better like, or my shit's gonna get all like, and I'm gonna lose all that progress.
Yeah, no, but like
That
my
that's me.
problem,
Everyone's different though. Everyone's different, but yeah,
oh yeah, yeah. Well, no,
yeah.
but like I said, I don't mind fighting it out. But like my problem was like you just turned into a beacon every time you went to extract, and half the time you had
And you would
teams
have
that would
campers.
yeah, they would just sit on the
Yeah.
extraction zone in like, ambush positions and just murder everybody. And it was like, well, at some point, if you have some of the insane maxed out builds, like they're not even killing you because they need anything. Like at this point, like it's just, oh, well, I can, we've got the 2-second time to kill build and we're just going to murder everyone that comes this way. So like eventually it's not fun because it's like, okay, so we're just going to keep running into these guys like no matter what we do because that's what's hot right now in the dark
Yeah.
zone.
And
So
that's where
like
it becomes unbalanced. Yeah. That's a
yeah,
that's
it
that's,
becomes
that's a good point. Yeah.
unbalanced.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
so
And then the
that's
developer
like
doesn't address that and it becomes an issue. Yeah.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
Bungie hasn't in the past shown a very good ability to react to that kind of stuff. Their reaction to things like that is like, oh well, let's just nerf this thing. And that again, that was another big reason why I quit at the time because like I had done some insane stuff, right, to get some incredible loot in Destiny 2, right? One of the most famous weapons was called the Recluse. You had to go to like the higher, you had to make it to like the highest level in the competitive PvP portion, like the ranked version. And I ran with some guys that were just they were just ridiculous, but they helped me get it, and I went through all this stuff, and it was a great weapon in both PvP, PvE. It made all the difference. It was insane. And then they were doing the thing where they were like, okay, we're gonna. They did the if you remember what sunsetting was, but basically they stopped updating the weapon, so it becomes useless power wise. Again, the problem with that is the gun was good in both PvP and PvE, so that was their form of controlling what people were using. And again, that was another thing that people hated. It's like I do all this stuff, I go through this long process, and I bust my behind to get this stuff, only for it to become useless because you feel like the weapons people are using are not enough. People aren't mixing it up enough. People aren't playing how I want them to play. And again, like I said, Bungie had a really, really big problem with that. And it's not just them, right? This is a multiplayer this is a multiplayer behavior type thing that a lot of studios just can't let go. Like almost like too much control. And when I say like too much control, like they're taking away the fun that players are having rather than looking at enhancing the other items to make them want to play with those items instead. Like there's always this subtraction um, thought process with multiplayer centric games. I mean, even World of Warcraft is famous for it, right? Blizzard literally, famous for the nerf bat. Something comes out and, a new patch, and you expect to see a bunch of nerfs across the board, you know, uh, in a week or a month or however long it takes them to put it out. And eventually, like I said, they did fix all that. They eventually stopped sunsetting items, like players asked. Again, this is like like a year after I quit, or a year and a half. So I had been quit, and I'm like, I'm not coming back. I did see some people on my timeline that were like, "Ooh, man, the new content is dope. They brought all my guns back." But again, a problem, not for me because I didn't delete everything, but this is just an example for people to understand like the big mistakes they made with Destiny 2 that give me no confidence in them with this game, even if I was interested. Is like I said, it took them a year and a half to 2 years to react to player feedback that was super obvious and everybody wanted it, only to do it later and then be like, okay, why aren't you guys coming back? And it's like, no, dude, like you took too long to do all the stuff that was super obvious and very easy to implement. It's not like people were asking for even things to be new. It was like, stop making my old content useless, um, that I worked so hard for and all these incredible weapons, and just make the new ones just as good or just as enticing, and you won't have that problem. Um, that's why when they talk about the loot and being excited for the loot and all this other stuff in Marathon, I'm like, I don't see anything exciting about any of the loot personally. I'm like, everybody just kind of looks very samey. You've got this very particular art style. And I'm very aware of how they used to differentiate weapons in Destiny. A lot of it was like we used to joke when they'd come out with new content sometimes, and it's like, oh, there's this new set of weapons, and it's like, oh, it's just this weapon with grass on top of it, to make it look different, and it has a different burst pattern or something. So yeah, I don't know. They seemed really confident in the idea of this thing. like I said, I don't know whose baby it is, but somebody really wants this game to come out, and they're really confident in it. But I I just don't think the genre already is an uphill battle, and then like I said, on top of everything else that they've got to go against, I just don't see it. I just don't see it working out for them, man. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. To your point about the market there with the extraction shooters, it's yeah, there's some popular games. Escape from Tarkov being one of them.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. All right, I want to move on to Sarah Bond here.
Mm.
Give me a second here. Oh, Nate, I don't know if you heard this, listened to the show earlier, but Doomsayer Son's a prodigy. We discovered that early on the show.
Nah, what I didn't hear. I missed it.
Oh yeah, you missed out. His son's like beating like The Last of Us Part 2, and it's got like, I mean, and he's 9 and reads like and speaks like he's 35 years old.
Okay.
I think I got that right there, Doomsayer.
I'm going to record a conversation that he has with my wife and post it on Twitter, and then everybody can figure out, is this
Good
real
morning,
or
Mother.
not?
Good morning, Mother. I was outside observing the azaleas, and they're blooming very nicely.
That's a little bit more sophisticated. You got to throw in a couple curse words here and there.
No,
That he got from my wife.
Is he dropping F-bombs?
Oh, he has a couple of times in school, and yeah, I get the phone call. The wife gets the phone call.
can't do that in school.
Oh no. He's gotten a lot better though. I will say that.
Yeah. All right. So Sarah Ba, the president over at Xbox, shared some new details on the next gen Xbox console, which I thought was interesting. She mentioned that there's a strategic multi-year partnership with AMD to co-engineer custom silicon for a new lineup of Xbox devices. Now, not just Xbox console, Xbox devices. We'll talk about that in a little bit, including consoles, handhelds, PCs, and cloud-based platforms. She also emphasized that the next-gen Xbox will deliver a deeper level of visual quality. Take that with a grain of salt. Immersive gameplay and experiences enhanced with the power of AI. I take a little bit of AI with a grain of salt too. So that was more or less kind of what that was a quick synopsis of what she said in the announcement. But want to go to you, Nib. What did you think about her announcement?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'll be honest, and again, maybe you guys could interject more, but
oh, I'm sorry, Nib, real quick. She
Yeah.
also did. This is important. She also did reaffirm that your existing Xbox game library would carry forward.
That was the main thing.
Yeah,
that was the main thing for me because like I kind of get that they're essentially transitioning people towards kind of more of a PC format, from what I understand. But the point about bringing over the existing library, that was the thing that got me. So does it just mean the past existing library and the future console or whatever it is, or piece of hardware will just play PC SKUs of games? And when I say that, I mean PC versions of games, like Steam Deck does, or like ROG Ally does, like Legion Go does, like your PC at home does. So irrespective of whatever OS they use, whether it's Steam OS or Linux or whatever, they're playing the PC version of the game, right? So is this hardware going to play the PC version of the game and emulate the past titles of Xbox? Or is it going to be some sort of dual boot thing where it can play console and PC versions of games? Although I think that would be very expensive. Like, I'll be honest, I don't exactly know what this hardware is. And it's strange because I feel like I've seen conversation where people are like, oh, it's obviously going to be this, or it's obviously going to be that. But I feel like I don't actually know. I don't know from the commentary that she made exactly what it might be. I do, when she said it's going to bring the existing library forward, that was the curveball, because the ROG Xbox Ally does not bring the existing library forward. If the game is not play anywhere, and you have the console version of that game, it is not working on the ROG Xbox Ally. Obviously, if you have the PC version, it will.
So real quick to your point, sometimes I think Microsoft's a bit too cheeky with their messaging,
Mhm.
and I feel like this is that example. Like, yeah, you can bring your games forward. Well, there's a caveat to that though, and I feel like
Yeah.
there's often caveats with their voice tracks.
Someone else was
Microsoft
saying
Xbox.
they could mean cloud. Like, you know, they like if you have
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
I
It's a
think
weird
that's
one.
the problem, is they could mean
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff, and they do that all the time, and then they know the people that they frequently talk with and the
Yeah.
influence in their community are just going to fluff it up to whatever the most superhero version of it is.
A way to
You
pick
know?
Yeah, but I think
make
that has served
wrong.
them really poorly in the past, though, because
Oh, no, I agree.
because the thing is, like, to increase the expectations and underdeliver, I think has been their death knell, kind of the last few generations, because their community of
That's been
influencers
the problem.
is all
Absolutely,
they
Nib.
boost
Yeah.
this. They boost the hell out of everything, and then when the real thing drops, the actual consumers just think, okay, it's not that, and they have a real kind of almost visceral reaction. It goes the opposite way. So it's like, are they
Nib,
doing that all again? Maybe they don't even know. I have no idea, to be honest. It's a
Nib,
really weird one.
I would interject. I've been doing this show for like 10 years, and I've been on
Mhm.
gaming Twitter for 12 years.
Mhm.
And I can tell you that the issue I've had with Xbox at times, probably more so with the influencers and members of the community,
Yeah.
is that they tend to take, I think Nate said they fluff it up or something, but
Yeah.
they tend to take what Microsoft does or says. This happened with Game Pass, right? Oh my God, Game Pass, it's going to change the game. Little Johnny's going to go to Best Buy with his mom, and he's going to see the Xbox and access to all these games for, $20. It was cheaper then at the time, but and then at the start of this generation, the Series S, it's a cheap alternative to. I mean, even the elderly gentleman who's got that very small mohawk was like, "Oh, little Johnny's going to go into Best Buy, and it's going to be a game changer." And they always like just let them do what they like. Just let this thing breathe. Let's wait, see what happens.
Genuinely with everything. Like, I made a tweet the other day. I will say that I actually like the guy. I know some people don't like Paris. Me and Paris even had like a over 1 hour like private debate, on Discord. I wish it could have been public. I wanted it to be public, but it wasn't. He didn't want it to be public. But that it is what it is. But like he seems like a chill guy. Like, obviously, I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, but I did make a tweet calling him out because it was just funny. I was like, "Come on, dude!" Like, and it was basically taking. I just literally just in his Twitter, I just put "future of gaming." And it came up with so many results, and I was just like, I just took screenshots of these tweets, and it's like everything is the future of gaming that Microsoft does. Like even Snap,
they do this. Snap. Yes, Snap. Yes, they do this every time. The Kinect, future
Snap,
of gaming,
you name it, like everything.
Xbox
Game
One,
Pass,
future
Cloud,
of gaming.
xCloud, yeah, like everything.
And then you see how the market reacts, and it's a completely different. And then you see at times how Microsoft, Xbox just doesn't stick the landing. They don't execute on these things, and then they pivot on. They pivot on a something they've announced or something that they had put in place because of the way the markets reacted. And so it just this whole thing of it's the future. It's I mean, it's funny you say that because it's so true. But they've been doing this for the 10 years I've been doing this show, the 12 years that I've been in on Twitter gaming, and the market, they always get it wrong. The community, the influencers always get it wrong. And just let this thing play out. Let's see what Microsoft and AMD are going to do together, and just leave it at that.
I will just say this, right? The thing is, like, and I keep saying this, like, okay, so you have a cross library between Xbox and PC, and it's like a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is amazing!" Like, but I'm like, guys, I feel like this is Play Anywhere all over again. Do these guys know Play Anywhere has been around since 2016? To what impact has it made on the community and consumers? Like, have consumers kind of established that there's a great appeal to this? I think it hasn't made a diddly squat. And I think the reality is, the vast majority of consumers do not play on both platforms simultaneously or cross-pollinate between the two. They're happy to play on one device. I'm sure there are a contingent of people who do play on both, but they're essentially like a niche. So like even someone like me, I have no interest to take my Xbox library to PC. Like I genuinely don't. I just play on my Series X. And for me personally, again, I might not be the masses, but I just want another console-ass console that has customizations and ground up custom hardware and an OS to maximize, an API to maximize that hardware, as opposed to this sort of like cross convergence thing. But you know, fine, if they want to like go down that route, I'm interested to see what they come up with, how the UI is, whether there's sort of leg to this. But again, all I'll say is I'm skeptical, and I'm skeptical because of all the times I've heard this sort of thing and all the times it's failed. And it's not even a fool me once, twice, 3, 4 times kind of thing. It's like consecutively, everything from like Kinect to the TV box to, you know, the ES RAM to the Series S and the Series X and, you know, RDNA 2 full feature suite and all of this stuff. Like
they've been talking about cloud for years, by the way.
cloud.
Since the Xbox
Remember
One.
when Xbox One was going to be boosted by like 10 times? Well, they
Yeah.
kept changing the number,
Yeah, by
6
the
times,
cloud,
10 times. Yeah, by the cloud. And Crackdown 3 was going to be this big, like, oh my god! I like
Yeah,
again.
remember Crackdown 3 was going to be the big cloud
Yeah.
showpiece. And many of the
Yeah.
influencers in the community were saying cloud's going to be the thing that bridges the gap between the
Yeah.
power differential, the Xbox One, the PS4.
Yeah.
I remember that. ES RAM, remember that? That
Yeah,
was going to be,
Yeah.
you know,
It
and
just goes on and
and
on. And like my father is like he's a very shrewd business kind of oriented person. Like there are times where I've done things and he's just like, well, that's your own fault, isn't it? Like, you know, like if this has happened to you before and it's happened again, that's your own ignorance. Like you should have had a level of skepticism because of this thing that happened. And I kind of feel that way about Xbox now. Like it really doesn't matter what you sell me. I'm going to wait till the proof is in the pudding, because there's been too many times. And I don't care what the influencers and the fanboys say, because they could have announced a turd and they would have glossed that shit up. Let's be honest.
Nib, this is a great point. Sam One, can't forget UWP.
Yeah.
I mean, UWP was the other thing. I mean, they have been talking about unification for quite some time now. So that's why I'm a little skeptical. I'm like, I've you guys have been like dancing on this for a while. You know, again, I'm not saying that it won't work, but I'm also not saying that it's the future of gaming.
But
yeah, exactly.
This is the problem though. Like people, like they've said so much nonsense that hasn't worked out, and the moment, you know, the fan base realizes it's not going to come to fruition the way it was promised, they just gloss over it and they're on to the next thing. And it's like, again, like I said, that's I know he was annoyed at that tweet. That's why, you know, like I said, you didn't put anything on your tweet that Paris didn't already say, right? But I mean, you didn't even have to do that tweet for me to remember all that, because I remember every single pivot, every single, you know, this is going to happen. We're switching to this. This is the next step in gaming or whatever. It was always, you know, again, the biggest, boosted up to the biggest, greatest thing, right? But like you said, the unification thing is not new. Like they've promised that forever. I have to explain to people all the time, like, Xbox is, yes, a part of Microsoft, but as someone who works really closely with Microsoft over the years, like I said, working in IT and having to deal with all the different versions of nonsense they went with over the years, like Windows 8 and the tile system, and all this other nonsense they've done. They have promised, again, not only like how she was in the statement, she's like, we're working really close with the Windows team, you know, and now they're on this big gung ho, like we got to make Windows, you know, a better gaming platform. They have promised a better optimization and better Windows gaming platform for over a decade now.
Exactly.
And it doesn't change.
Nib's point, Play Anywhere goes back to 2016. And people thought, oh, the industry is going to follow suit. You know, publishers are going to see, oh, well, no, publishers want to sell that game twice.
Yeah, exactly. See, I had this conversation with D-Batch yesterday in Mutual's podcast, like, because he was saying like it's the UI, and I said to him, like, out of curiosity, what makes you so confident that they're going to nail it with this UI? And he said, because they have to. But I feel like they've had to in so many different categories of business and so many different product lines, even the Xbox for a long time, doesn't mean they've actually executed. Because when I look at, like, when I think of UI, obviously I do have a PC and I do have my MacBook Pro as well, you know, the M2 or whatever it is. And it's like, even on like the OS side of Windows versus Mac, and if I look at the OS of sort of the Series X of my PS5, and if I look at sort of Windows on PC, the Xbox app, like across the board, this software company, quote unquote, has really shoddy UI work. Like they're getting, you know, kind of outpaced by the competition in a lot of areas, and they're supposed to be the UI guys. So as much as like I would love for them to execute on this UI, maybe it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I can't just wishful think. I can't just be hopeful of that, because based on all the past, and you know, outside of 360, I think the 360 blades were amazing. It's one of my favorite UIs. But outside, since the 360, I just think they've, you know, they haven't done the greatest job. Even now, when I use my Series X, obviously I post my media, I post my captures, and there's so many bloody annoying things about this UI. It's so frustrating. Like, you know, you press the screenshot button and there's like a 2-second delay or 1-second delay. And then if you press it 2-3 times in a row, it will give you an error message. Then you can't take a screenshot for the next like 30 seconds to a minute. You record a video and you press the screenshot button while you're recording a video, and then there's a massive gap in your video, and then you try and load up the DVR, and the DVR is slow and buggy, and it's just like, blah, like, come on, dudes, like, this is brand new hardware in 2025 and this shit is still happening. Like, and again, like, it's not the most important thing. Fundamentally, it's the games that matter. I don't really care that much about the UI, but you know, these little, I don't have the same sort of issues on say the PS5, so you know, it does make a little bit of a difference. So yeah, like it's cool that D-Batch is as optimistic as he is, but I cannot extend that optimism just based on the delivery of OS products that I've had from Microsoft, you know, over the last decade or whatever.
Hey, Doomsayer, what does your son think about? I'm just joking. I was gonna ask you, what is your think about the unification of Xbox and PC? I'm joking though. Yeah, Doomsayer, what are your thoughts? What do you think about her announcement and really the pivot, right? Which is clearly a strategic pivot for Microsoft to unify both Xbox and PC. I understand the reasoning behind it. Again, I think much like Nib and I think Innate, I'm kind of like skeptical. I'm not saying it's going to fail, but I'm not out here shouting for the rooftop that it's the future either. What are your thoughts?
Well, when she sits there and says next gen Xbox console, is that the handheld from ROG that you're going to be able to dock, or is this a new, like a brand new console? Because I am going to be totally honest here. Last Saturday, I got rid of my Xbox, and I will never buy anything Xbox anymore. Their games, and BRAP, you've heard me say this, is their games are on PlayStation. That's all I need. For them to go PC, I guess you could sit there and say that's great. But Nib, I was sitting there listening to Mooch's show this morning in that, and you guys were actually talking about how bad Windows is kind of, you know, with gaming, that Linux is just so much better in that. Well, I mean, if they're not fixing the stuff that you sat there and you talked about on just their Xbox, what makes you think they're really going to put a lot of effort into, you know, fixing, I guess, kind of like the gaming part of Windows to make it better and everything?
Yeah.
I've,
you know, the only thing I'm thinking, right, why it may happen is maybe like it's something they've been working on that needs, like, maybe the hardware grunt or whatever of a next gen piece of hardware. Like, I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, I don't know if this is the case. Like, maybe it's something like, you know, with the memory and everything that we have right now on the console side, blah blah blah, the partition systems and this and that. With this, you know, they have like weird parallelism on the Series X, and the Series S has a different memory architecture setup altogether. So maybe it's like was a bit too much for them to do for this current generation. Maybe maybe with the new generation of hardware, they'll be able to do finally this OS that they want to do, including on the PC side. But obviously, that's being generous, like, you know.
Let me ask you three gentlemen something here, and I was seeing it on Twitter all day today. They're putting all this effort into backwards compatibility, and they want to bring all or even a lot of the 360 games, you know, to their catalog, their Game Pass, and all this other stuff. They stopped with the backwards compatibility. What was it? A year, 2.5 years, 3 years ago. Where are they getting the money to get all this licensing fees and things like that for this backwards compatibility? How is that going to work? I mean, to me, you're throwing too many things into one basket, and you're just not concentrating on one thing, and it just kind of like gets lost. You're trying to do too many things, and you should just try to concentrate on one thing. Get out of the console thing. Don't do a console no more. Concentrate on PC. Make your store better. Okay, that people are going to want to come to your store, because if people are going to Steam and they're buying, you know, the games on Steam, yeah, sure, you're getting 70% and they're getting 30%, but you want people going to your store so you get 100% of that instead of giving away money.
Exactly, yeah.
Losing out. And then, you know, if people are sitting there saying, hey, well, Linux is better than what Windows is, concentrate on making your Windows gaming part, you know, the top of the line in that, for everybody to come there and want to play their games on that.
See, the way I'm thinking is like, okay, why would you what would be the reasons to compel you to buy this piece of hardware instead of just build a PC? Because maybe your library doesn't carry forward, but obviously you get all the benefits of PC. You can do more on PC. You can also run other apps, programs. It has utility outside of gaming. You have the flexibility of upgrades and everything else, right? There's other reasons to go to PC. So why would you buy this console? Well, one reason could be value proposition. If there's subsidy, or if it's, you know, like custom parts and stuff, maybe it outperforms the PC for a traditional PC with the same money. The other thing could be the UI, the ease of use, or whatever. But then it's like, once you start getting into that console sphere of things, what is pushing you away from just buying a PS6, which is more towards that line? And is the having your pre-existing Xbox library carry forward, is that really enough of a compelling reason for, one, PC gamers not to just go the PC route and potentially get better hardware and more flexibility on their PC, and B, for the console crowd, who, if they go for the pure console high performance system, not only do they get Xbox games day one, they also get PlayStation exclusives day one, and they get more of a console specific customized hardware and API and performance and all the rest. So I don't know, it's kind of like a weird middle ground. Like, I personally, I'm not sure how it's going to pan out. I'm not sure if it's necessarily going to have that draw, and it might be in some middle, sort of like no man's land in between. But you never know. Maybe they draw enough PC gamers who don't like the complexity of PC and just want something simpler, but still want to do PC gaming. I don't know. We'll see.
But Nib, let me ask you this, and BRAP and Nate, I want you guys to answer this too. Nib, you sat there and said, what the games that I have in my catalog, are they going to be coming with me? Now, here's the thing. What if they don't come with you, and now you have to rebuy them over again? I mean, is it even worth it for that? I mean, I kept on hearing native, the ROG's not going to play native and all this other stuff. And then somebody on Twitter was saying, hey, I have 700 and some games and only 62 are play anywhere.
Yeah, that was Steven. He's one of my close, I speak to him every day. Yeah.
I'm sitting there and just like you sat there and said, Nib,
in my DMs, yeah.
Worth it? To me, it's not worth it. It's not worth going.
He's an Xbox player, by the way, through and through. He's an Xbox fan. So it was really interesting hearing his thoughts in the DM group and obviously on his tweets and stuff as well, because like he is the one of the strongest Xbox fanboys in our little DM group. So hearing him talk about that and look, is my library going to carry forward or not? Like, yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting because to him, like, because of those reasons, to him, the Xbox ROG Ally is not a console because it doesn't play his console library. It's still a PC handheld. And yet, some play anywhere games will play on it, but fundamentally, they're not even playing the console version of the game. They're still playing the PC version. All it is Xbox has agreed the licensing for both versions. But
Exactly.
it's really yeah.
No, but yeah,
Uh,
like you said, Steven was on point with that though, right? Like again, the part of your confusion, right, Doom, is the problem. It's like the messaging is never clear and it's not clear on purpose. Because again, it just allows them to run around and say all these things, but like we just said, that doesn't really do them any favors because if it comes out and it's not that upper echelon, superhero level rumor that they've been circulating for months, then now it's okay. Okay, guys, look, it's not as bad as you think. Then the damage control starts. Look, guys, we're still getting this, or we're still getting that, or so now all the the things you were promised, like and we always talk about other things or comparisons, right? Like Nib, you have your AMG, right? But imagine you were purchasing the new one and you're expecting your Alcantara leather, steering wheel, Alcantara, all
So,
this, a brand
yeah.
new a brand new
And I
UI
don't get any of that.
experience in the dash, and then you get it and they're like, yeah, my bad. AMG
But
was
I
like,
mean, by the way, I'm not purchasing a new one, and I won't be purchasing a new one. And I'm actually in a no man's land in car purchases too, because basically, I don't know if you guys know, not to get into cars again, but because of the new regulations and the new chips and the new noise regs and everything like that, like all the
yeah,
new cars, they don't sound, they don't literally don't crack and pop, and they're really muted. So they like gave me the new one to as a courtesy car when my car was in for service, and it's like it was just dead. I was like, I might as well just buy a bloody electric car. Like, who cares if it's fast?
yeah.
Like, there's no passion, there's no fear. Like, what's the point? So anyway, tangent. But yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, but like you get the point. Like it's like if anybody, if you looked at any other area of life and you were promised something, if you order a 21-ounce steak and they're like, my bad, we ran out of that,
Yeah,
so we're gonna give you a
yeah,
10-ounce steak. You're
yeah,
cool with that,
yeah.
right? I mean, we're still gonna charge you what we were gonna charge you, but that you're cool, right? Like, but this is what just keeps happening, and then they
Hmm.
just keep trying to placate the fan base,
Yeah.
and again, we've always had a big problem, like I said, with messaging from both Microsoft and Xbox over the years. See, the problem is like a lot of Xbox guys try to ignore the Microsoft side of things, but this
Hmm.
is the same company. Like there is, gaming games for Windows and all this other stuff that was supposed to happen. I frequently bring up the direct storage and how that took like them a decade to just implement that was promised years ago to PC gamers, and then like overnight. This is my problem, right? With a lot of these people y'all had these discussions with. I've been gaming on PC since like MS DOS. Like I've seen every iteration and every promise Microsoft has put out there and fell short on. Like especially because, like I said, from a young age, like I was fixing people's family Dells in middle school. Like I've been working on PCs before I was like a professional in it. You know what I mean? Like that's how long it's been. So I know every issue, every
Mm,
update that has caused things to go wonky. Like
mm,
they've always struggled. Like I'm
mm.
personal friends with a friend of mine that worked for over 20 years on the development team for Windows. Like, and
Yeah.
he still talks about it. I mean, he's retired now. Um, but he frequently talks about on his channel when he goes live, all the updates, and he's still like a super insider. So like they get stuff, he gets the kind of updates that potentially might break your machine, while they're testing it and doing all this other stuff. and like I said, it's always a hit or miss with them, right? And if something does hit, there's usually something else wrong, or sound drivers don't work right, and all this other stuff. And it's like you mentioned earlier, you can't get this hybridized experience without running into a bunch of PC centric issues. And I'm telling you right now, like you don't want that, right? Like as someone who, again, I have taken apart my PC for like the smallest thing, right? Um, just from certain errors that pop up, the amount of troubleshooting you have to go through sometimes when you've gamed on PC as long as I have. Because, like, make no mistake, a lot of these people are new, like Death Singer, who I'm gonna call out directly because he's in that newfound glory land of I've been gaming on PC. I think he only switched like
Very
2-3 years ago. Yeah, like he's super new. So there's always this oh my god, the games are so cheap and it's all so
Oh, you
wonderful.
mean the honeymoon phase?
Yeah, that honeymoon phase where it's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good. I only play on Steam, majority they pretty much only play on Steam. So the experience is rather smooth until it's not. Then, when they run into their first real issue where they got to reg edit or do some other crazy thing to get around something, or this game always launches into a black screen and they can't fix it. Like I'm telling you, I cannot tell you the amount of things I have fixed. I famously had to tell somebody at one point the EA launcher was so bad that I
Mm,
bought Mass Effect 3 and I
yeah.
couldn't play it. So I had to actually pirate it so I could play it because the reason it wouldn't work was the EA launcher.
Nate,
Yeah.
I run into launcher issues on PC before. Hell, I've had to reinstall my operating system.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've had games on Steam perform better than the Xbox from the Steam launcher from the Steam store
Yeah.
than the Xbox store. Like that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
excuse
I
me.
mean,
So
I mean, the reason I actually moved away from PC gaming was because after spending a shitload of money, in certain, I think it was Witcher 3 and one other game, I was having like micro stuttering, and I'm not joking because I'm really compulsive. It was driving me insane, and I was like, I went through every individual graphic setting, like changing this, changing shadows, like it was causing this, like well, bloody hell, like doing the drivers and this and that. I'm not saying like obviously I know a lot of PC gamers saying, oh, that's in the past, like now it's all great, but like people say that, and then I see the tweets. And I see the Digital Foundry comparisons, and I see him talk about like traversal stutter and shader compilation stutter, and I'm like, nope, no fucking way. Because I'll tell you right now, if I spent £4,000 on a PC and it did that shit, I would fucking sell that shit straight away. Like, there's no, because it's the principle of it. Like, you're spending this much money, right? This shit should massage my back as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've literally bought top of the line hardware, the best of the best. Why is it giving me these inane fucking issues? Like, at least on the console side, like, not that I have had those kind of issues on the console side, but at least on the console side, it's like cheap hardware at the end of the day. It's accessible, it's quick. Turn it on, boom, bam, bam, like nothing else. Like, so even if there was minor issues, I can kind of see it. But we're talking like I've spent top of the line money. I've got the top of the line cooling, water cooler, this, that, cat's out on the mat, and then it's still giving me issues. No way. Like, for me, that was it. Like, I was like, I'm done. Like, it's almost like felt insulting to me. Like, how can you pay this much and put up with this? It'll be like me getting a first class ticket on a flight and it be having full of issues, like my food was cold and this, like I just couldn't. It's a different thing when you spend that much money. So for that reason, I just
Nib, it's interesting. One of the things I've heard you say quite a bit is at least with console gaming, you appreciate the ease of access, right? The plug and play. There's something to be said. I mean, certainly consumers do want, not every consumer, but there's certainly consumers that want accessibility, want that ease of access, that plug and play. Play your controller, turn on the power button, load up the game. And you talk about like one of the advantages of consoles is that it's you have that, that customized software, hardware, and you get that optimization. And one of the things that and I ran into this. I run into people who are new to PC gaming, not I, but I've run into people who are new to PC gaming, where they don't realize like performance optimization to PC for developers is challenging because you're having to develop for, I mean, like, I don't want to say billions, but just a shit ton of of different types of configurations of hardware configuration, right? And so that brings me back to this thing. Like, what is this thing that they're doing, right? From a hardware perspective, you know, is this mean that the next Xbox console is going to be more of a PC hybrid? Because, you know, one of the things she said, like, look, it's not going to be locked down to just one store. Well, when you say that our next Xbox isn't going to be locked down to just one store, to me, that's more okay. Now we're talking like PC. This is like PC. So is this thing going to be more of a PC type thing, like a PC hybrid? Is that where we're going?
I'm gonna give you something funny here, right? About that specific line, right? Because the immediate thing is basically what you just said that people took it as, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna launch this next Xbox and I'm gonna go to Steam and bust out all my Steam games. That's literally every single article that was written after she came out with this literal minute and 12-second statement. Like, that's, even though she didn't say that, right? I'll give you something that we immediately went over in our group chat was you can already purchase Xbox games from other storefronts. So there are other places like Green Man Gaming and a couple other places where you can purchase the Xbox version of a game from those storefronts. So her saying other storefronts doesn't necessarily mean Steam specifically. Like, so it could just mean in a, basically, instead of them just giving you the standard pricing within that store, almost like, you know, you're a big fan of GG deals, I believe. I think you know about that. But they basically, that website shows you like 5 different places and it shows you the cheapest place you can purchase a game, right?
Yep.
And Xbox games are, you know, famous for being able to be purchased on other stores. So they just may mean like an integration of some of these stores. And again, this is the problem with the statement, and this is why I said this is why they stated it that way, right? Because it can be taken 50 different ways, because they really didn't promise anything specific. Like, she gave an idea and then was like, yeah, now you do with that what you want and imagine what that'll be. And then, like you said, though, if this thing shows up and it's not Steam, then what? Like imagine watch the damage control that week. Watch the legendary level of damage control that week. Because they're like, most of these podcasts and even articles, not even just the podcast, not even just the fanboys, but the IGNs, the GameSpots are all basically writing articles all over the place about how Steam is coming to Xbox, right? Then, like you stated, right? From a hardware perspective, how messy is this going to get, right? You can't have, like, again, I know you said you were a fan of it, right, BRAP, but the Steam box didn't work for a reason, and the reason is because you were so close to a PC, but you lost a lot of the modular nature that people benefit from that do build a PC when they bought a Steam box. So now Steam boxes came out, and you have Steam boxes that are priced $800, $900, but all the way up to like $3,500. So you're priced like a PC, but then I lose all the modular nature of a PC where I can just swap things in and out and do what I want.
And Nate, real quick, to your point, and this is, I'm glad you mentioned the Steam box, because one of the issues, and this is where I'm looking at kind of the pros and cons of this unification, and if this thing is a I get the sense that they're probably going to create their own like they'll still make their own first party hardware. I was talking to Logic about this. He seems to think like Xbox may create like the middle of the road console, right? And then their third party partners or vendors will make the high end and low end Xbox consoles or whatever they're going to be. That is kind of similar. Like if you remember the Steam machines, they had the Steam OS, right? And but they also had their third party vendors make them, right? So there was fragmented hardware, and really I think, and I could be wrong, I think like some people were kind of unclear of what the Steam machines were. You know, like
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
it was kind of like, and then I think about the hardware fragmentation of that market. And so I wonder if that might be, again, like why would you want this, assuming this thing's a hybrid, why would you want this over a console or PC?
Exactly.
And I'm not saying there's no market for that. There probably is.
I think
those are some of the questions and issues that the Steam Machine had. Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
I think it would be the sell would be if you want to be able to have your Xbox library and be able to buy on Steam and get the PC side of things and maybe the pricing benefits and stuff. And on the PC side, for PC people who want the PC experience but something a little bit more accessible, basically. I personally think those kind of middle grounds tend to not work out because it's kind of like jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, it's the jack of all trades, master of none. But to what Innate was saying is, if it's not the thing that all the media has upped it to be, the funny thing is, I'll celebrate because I just want a console-ass console. I don't need all this hybrid shit. Like, I don't have no need for it. Why do I need my Xbox games to play PC games and vice versa and everything like that? Like, I'd rather just have the most optimized console experience humanly possible, right? Just give me state-of-the-art hardware with customized features and decompression and all the rest of it, just to make my games look and run as good as humanly possible at the highest value proposition possible. That's kind of what console gaming has always been about, right? That's all I want. I'm actually not even gonna care if it doesn't have all these hybridized things that a lot of other people seem to want. But I think the reason, like, a lot of the Xbox fans and the media and the Xbox media, the reason like they're kind of pushing this is because Xbox has kind of already failed in the traditional model, and they need something else to pivot to. They need something else that will bring Xbox to relevance, because I think they know that Xbox, as it is right now, at least in the console sphere, is basically dead, right? Like, it's capitulated all market share to PlayStation, and then Switch has its own, portable market shares doing gangbusters. Switch too. So they kind of need something else to draw it away, because it's not working with the existing model. And maybe it's the exact same thing for Microsoft. Like, we've already lost this battle, so we need something new. Like,
So I asked a question like, what is this thing? And I just remember what she said, that make Windows the number one gaming platform, not Xbox, but Windows, right?
Yep.
And Windows synonymous with PC, right? PC gaming, Windows, And so when she says that, now I'm like, okay, like, this is clearly, you're blurring the lines between console and PC. And so now that I'm thinking about this and remember what she said, I'm like, yeah, this thing is looking more and more like a hybrid console PC. And when you introduce the ROG Xbox Ally, which is a Windows handheld PC portable, device, to me, that's just an extension of that ecosystem, or that, PC console hybrid thing that's going to sit under your TV. But to your point, Nib, I think part of that, though, part of that pivot is what you just said. Like, the Xbox as a console, the brand just hasn't done well. Post 360, which was arguably their most successful console generation, and so they've almost given up. They're not gonna compete in Nintendo's space, right? Nintendo's kind of captured that lower end, console market, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna capture market share from PlayStation, because PlayStation has taken more of that higher end console space. I think what they do. Let me know what you gentlemen think. I think what they're doing with this approach, obviously the product differentiator is unification of the ecosystems, PC, Xbox, right? Having your games everywhere, access to your games everywhere, to different storefronts. That's the differentiator, and I think that they're probably trying to carve some kind of carve a piece of the pie out in the market that probably caters to somebody who wants that. Maybe doesn't want to go ham on a console, Nate. I love your console builds, Nate. You and Priscilla have awesome builds. I'm not that consumer, though. I'm a 70 series guy. But there are people that are in that maybe 50, 60 space, or maybe like, you know what, like maybe yeah, if something was maybe something at that that middle ground, right? I don't want to totally spend all that money on PC, but I also want something that maybe performs a little bit better than a console.
Well, that the problem with that though is and I've seen Nib get into these arguments with people
Yeah.
before, right? But the problem is when you get out of the really customized hardware that the consoles have, is you start to run into uh less optimized performance, which
Yeah.
runs into a bunch of issues, right? So it's like remember the whole I mean the PC guys always try this, right? They're always like, ooh, I can build this better than this, right? They did the
Yeah.
same, they tried to do the same thing with the Pro, right? And famously one of the biggest builders, the biggest tech builders on YouTube, he even cheated for his build. Like he couldn't even do it. He had a 1 terabyte SSD in his to try and cut the price, and it's still like, again, while you get good performance in some stuff, like a lot of lower spec stuff, like they're like, ooh, I can run this game at high refresh rate because I can run it on a 1080p monitor and all this other stuff. You lose a lot of the high end, right? Like in order for a PC to give the level of performance I get out of my PS5 Pro, like it has to be significantly more powerful, right? Like this is why, again, I always tell people when they get into PC gaming, the perfect spot for you is going to be around 1440p, high fidelity, high refresh rate, right? Because when you start to, but people, again, they're like used to 4K because that is what the consoles target, 4K, whether it's via upscaling and all this other stuff. But again, that stuff, like Nib said, is designed for the ground up for you to pop that disc in and get this optimal performance at a level
Yeah.
that's dialed in that you just can't do on
Yeah.
PC, right? Which
So, I
is
mean,
why
that's
it
it's
was warn people. Yeah, go
the,
ahead.
the funny thing is, it even we actually even have we've seen it with the Series X, which is not even a hybrid PC. So one of the
Mhm.
reasons the Series X, despite having more compute performance by, I think it's like 20% with the CU count different and everything.
Mhm.
Again, I know that the PS5 has certain advantages in hardware like clock speed, etc. But overall, the compute advantage goes to the Series X. But yet, we still see the PS5, outperform it a lot of the time, and they're kind of trading blows. And again, like when Digital Foundry did that video where they asked developers, why is the PS5 outperforming the Series X? And before that video, even Digital Foundry, they were saying they think it's just because it's the de facto platform and they probably just spend more time on it because it's the most popular. But even I was saying, like, I remember speaking to Alec, I don't necessarily buy that because the One X had far less market share than the PS4 Pro, but still outperformed it in nearly everything. Because fundamentally, if your hardware is more performant, it should show. And then they asked them, and they basically, the developers said it's the tools, it's the API, it's the shader language, blah blah blah. Which I could have told you, I guess, because it's like fundamentally
Which
the
people are
Series
scared to talk
X.
about.
Yeah, the Series X and S use DirectX with the GDK tools. There's like a lot of abstract and overlap with the PC side of things because they want to make PC development easier. Obviously, like if you're developing for Xbox, they want it to be as seamless as possible with the PC. But the problem in doing that is you lose that granular optimization with the API and everything and the tools on the console side. Whereas for the PS5, there is no other API that they use. It's literally the API for the PS5, the AGCX. It's only for the PS5 and for the PS5 hardware ground up. They don't even use the same API as the PS4. The PS4 uses GNME and GNMEX. Like they literally even customize the API specifically from the PS4s just to extract the most they could out of PS5. And I will say one thing, to Innate, you
Hey,
were saying about the
real quick,
yeah,
Nib, doesn't this kind of remind you of like Apple a bit? That
yeah,
Apple-esque approach, that closed,
yeah.
we own the stack, we own, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I agree. I was going to say one more thing because I know like people are going to probably jump at you, the PC guys, on the PS5 Pro thing, because in a recent test, the PS5 Pro did not do particularly well. And it reminds me of the 1060 test with the PS5 at launch, where the PS5 just was performing similar to a 1060, and then a year later it was outperforming a 2070 Super. That test that Digital Foundry did with the PS5 Pro, he used Black Myth Wukong in performance mode. Go and watch the PS5 Pro video on Black Myth Wukong, and what you will see is that Oliver, what he says is, for some reason, the performance mode on PS5 Pro is not different from the PS5 version, not even in resolution or performance, even though PS5 Pro, even in boost mode, runs games at like 30 to 50% better. This has like no tangible improvement at all. So straight off the bat, the first example that they used, they only tested performance mode. They didn't test balance or quality mode. So straight off the bat, obviously the PS5 Pro was going to perform worse, because in that particular mode and game, it doesn't even outperform a PS5. It's just a coding thing, right? They haven't put the time to do it. And then the other two games was Forza Horizon 5, which is obviously a 4-year-old or 3-year-old Xbox port, and then the final game was I believe it was Alan Wake 2, which had an NVIDIA partnership, etc., and has historically always performed worse on PlayStation hardware. Even in their the PS5 test they did, that was one of the games in the performance mode where the PS5, for some reason, performed worse than the other GPUs. Even the same GPUs, it outperformed in all the other games. So there is something with that game and with the way they've developed or optimized it with PlayStation hardware that it just doesn't resonate. So, I know it's going to sound like excuses, but those are the facts. Obviously, Alan Wake 2 was one of the worst PS5 Pro examples when they first did the bunch of tests. It was one of the examples they used as one of the worst. And unfortunately, Richard, the 3 games he chose, one of them had no difference to the PS5, and the Alan Wake 2 was already a bad PS5 port. And to clarify one other thing, these are not games that have been designed with the PS5 Pro in mind from development. They've just been patched after release. So they weren't even developed with the PS5 Pro in mind. So before you make those PS5 comparisons, you might want to wait to test the more modern titles, F125 or Assassin's Creed Shadows, etc., all the future games that come out.
Yeah, but I don't know if you know this. I just bought a PS5 Pro. Yeah, and I'm actually playing my second and a half playthrough of Expedition 33, and I can tell the performance boost. Like you could tell, like
you can.
The textures look better, more visual pop. I mean, it just.
I'm playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 now.
Yeah,
and it's actually better than the PS5's 30 frames per second quality mode. Better, has better image quality, and it runs at double the frame rate. So come on, that's amazing to me. Like that's what they sold the PS5 Pro as, right? Like you won't have to choose between. It's like not having to choose between quality and performance on PS5. You kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think for me, like the PS5 Pro is kind of that happy medium between console and PC for me right now.
Exactly.
And so, like I said, Expedition 33 looks great. Like I could tell the difference. Actually, I did fire up because I wanted to see The Last of Us Part 2. And I've kind of had this love-hate relationship with The Last of Us Part 2, and then season 2 of The Last of Us on HBO. I'm like, okay, I need to go back and play Part 2 again.
Yeah.
But even the PS5 enhanced version of that game, the PS5 Pro, looks really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this looks good. Like I was surprised. And so there's a couple other games I want to play on the Pro. I mean, Death Stranding 2, I can't even imagine what that's going to look like.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm fortunate. Like everything I've played on the Pro has been notably better. Even Stellar Blade, I think it was quite an apparent difference. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, obviously, Final Fantasy, even GT7 I still play, and I think with the ray tracing and everything, it's, for me personally, it just has that extra level of immersion. 100%. Like for me, it's been a great console. Like Assassin's Creed Shadows as well. Obviously, you got the GI in performance mode, which totally transforms the game. So no complaints from me. Like across the board, I think it's been a solid piece of hardware. If I had played
those games that were worse. Like I think Silent Hill 2 at launch was quite bad on it, from what I remember. Alan Wake 2 was bad on it. If I had played those games, maybe I would have had a more soured experience. But every title I've played has been notably improved.
But
I-
you're
my-
also an informed consumer, right? Like that makes a big difference, right? Like, don't get it twisted, because Alan Wake 2 is one of the single hardest games to run, even on PC.
Even on PC, yeah.
Yeah, like it is a monster. Like, I'm talking like, some of the higher end graphics cards that people would expect uh not to struggle. Like, the moment you slap 4K on, even with DLSS, some of the more, the 70 series cards can even struggle. With depending on which year you have, and so on and so forth. So that
Yeah.
game is just tough in general. So, and like you said, it wasn't originally, in its development, wasn't developed for the PS5 Pro in mind, and a bunch of
No.
other things. And there's
Yeah.
also, depending on the engines that are used, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, you talk about this plenty on your page, but I had a conversation with somebody the other day. We got into a conversation on Discord about engines, and somebody was saying,
Mm.
"Oh, well, the RE engine is, one of my favorites or whatever." And
Mhm.
I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, but to be fair, the majority of the stuff you're talking about is in a specific environment, because I
Mhm.
was like, the moment you took that
Mm.
engine to the, what was
Exactly.
it, the one that you liked, I
Yeah.
forgot, Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, like a
um
wider area, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
the wider area,
Yeah.
then it
Exactly.
started to
Yeah.
show its issues,
It
because it
does. Yeah.
wasn't designed for that. And I was like, so it's got its issues too, and it's not perfect. And again, but this is why a lot of improvements and stuff, and engine level improvements, and working with the hardware directly is so important, right? And why we see such a massive difference in the
Yeah.
early game, or mid game, and then the late game of consoles, right? Like,
Mhm.
even the PS5 standard, like, again, like, we love our Pro, right? Like, it does phenomenal work. It gives us the performance, the balance of performance and quality we want in our experience. But we kept telling people the standard PS5 is not going to go anywhere, and it's not going to be left behind, right? Because it's not the Series S, it's the standard. Then the Pro is just the enhanced version of all this stuff, right? And you're
Yeah.
seeing that now, when people were losing their minds over seeing the Witcher 4 tech demo, right?
Mm.
People are forgetting, because people were freaking out when they were like, they heard it was a tech demo. I was like, it
Mm.
was still running on the
Yeah.
PS5 standard.
That's true.
That's what I was
60
trying to
frames a
explain.
second as well.
Yeah, 60 frames per second. And I was like, I was like, you don't have to understand the technical. They explained it pretty layman's, how they were achieving what they were achieving. If people would just, sometimes I felt like people were just watching it on silent or something. I was like, it wasn't that hard. Like, they're explaining what's happening, the way that it's dealing with the pixels on screen when you're zooming out, and still giving you this massive forest, and still able to maintain
So
60 FPS with
yeah.
all this, visual
But by
fidelity.
the way, like I will put my hand up. I think you are right. I think like when I first watched it, I wasn't listening clearly to the instructions. I was kind of enamored by what I was seeing. But
No,
then,
yeah,
when I went back and watched it, I was like, "Oh, okay, that I'm getting the technical side of it now." Because, like, one of the things, for example, obviously, Witcher and Horizon and all these RPGs, they're very
mhm,
foliage heavy games, and traditionally,
exactly.
foliage has been very expensive. Especially once you start getting to 3D tree models instead of like the 2D sort of crosshatch patterning that traditionally games have used. Once you get into the
Mhm.
3D stuff with self shadowing and everything else, it becomes really expensive. But like what they were saying was the nanite technology that they've improved for, is it Unreal 5.2 or 5.4? I don't know. I can't remember.
5.6. Yeah, it's now
5.6. Okay,
5.6.
5.6. Okay, so Unreal 5.6. They were saying they're basically, instead of being sort of like pixel based, now the trees and stuff is voxel based. And if you remember, like voxel is something that what's it called? The bloody media molecule game.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Dreams.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dreams was using the voxel system, and it was basically a lot more computationally efficient, but allowed them to have that level of detail and flexibility, which is why like some of the Dreams world graphics are so phenomenal. They're like head and shoulders above what you get on like Roblox and stuff like that. Literally, some of the games people have made look like next gen games almost.
Yeah, they do.
But it's because they've that voxel system, so it's kind of like they've done something similar with the tree system, so that it won't be as computationally expensive. So then I'm like, okay, so I don't know how much frame time or how much whatever rendering and stuff budget you're saving by doing that, but maybe that is what is allowing more fidelity here and more draw distance there, blah blah blah. So yeah, I'm really excited to see, like, obviously CDPR does have a history of over promising and under delivering, so I am a bit skeptical, but hopefully once they transition that to the game world they can still deliver, but we'll see.
Yeah, so to that point, right? Like one of the things to keep in mind, and this is something I always tell people as someone who does play across the two, one of the places that gets a lot of these updates first is actually Fortnite, because obviously that's Epic's baby. So I playing it on PC, I actually get a lot of access to that stuff. Like it was the first place where they really implemented the nanites and all that stuff, and that stuff is famously super heavy, right? So for me to see the improvements on that, which I've already seen like a massive improvement in performance on PC when, fully maxing out Fortnite. Like again, for people have a really big misconception about Fortnite, because a lot of people think about Fortnite was like season one, like a long time ago. Fortnite has like a ton of stuff going on with nanites, create the craziest level of like ray tracing and all this other stuff. Most people play with it off though, because they're playing, competitively, so they want as much performance as humanly possible, right? But if you turn it all up, like the tech behind it is literally insane, but it's also improved, right? Like before it was super super heavy. Like everybody who was running it maxed out was like a 4090, and you still had to like, if you dropped into a full match and dropped into certain areas, you were still going to drop some FPS, right? Now that has turned into me smacking, the max 165 hertz again on my monitor the way it's supposed to be, because they've already started implementing some of these optimizations, right? But the big key thing to take away from that, and something that came out later, is you saw them say that they were prioritizing building for PS5 first, right? Which again threw some people off, and it's like, but the reality is ultimately you're going to just brute force whatever it is at the end of the day on PC, no matter how much optimization they really try to achieve. But they can program so well and so deep into like the PS5, because it's one SKU, it's one thing. Like my PS5 is like your PS5, and like the millions of other PS5s out there. And that is how they're able to, once they start optimizing for that level, that's how they were able to achieve what you saw on screen with something like The Witcher, once they started creating those optimization improvements. And again, I went back and I watched way beyond the Witcher presentation. I mean, I kind of skimmed through some of it because some of it was super developer related. But the whole point of 5.6 on the update for Epic is that it is literally entirely based on optimization. Like they have been beefing it up and beefing it up, and it had become tougher and tougher to run, which is why you saw all these issues. You see all these other Unreal crash related things, Unreal stutter, and all this other stuff, right? That's why 5.6 is nothing but optimization, right? They're fully dialing it in, and then now you see it bringing it back. And I was even explaining this to Hero because he was talking on the side and was like, I don't really know if this is possible. And like, most people were freaking out because it's currently not, right? But I was like, yeah, but you're seeing literally, you're getting a chance to see the cutting edge tech before, years before we're even getting the game. So you're getting to see the reason behind the scenes why, CD Projekt Red made the choice to move off of their own Red engine to a fully supported Unreal 5.6 engine, and what it's capable of doing and what they clearly showed them, and what they're able to achieve now, because that's something they no longer have to put in that work for their specific engine. Now you can, not only that, but you're going to be able to bring in talent who's already familiar with the Unreal Engine. So if you need to talent boost at all or get someone to work on certain parts of the game, like tons of these places are familiar with Unreal or have a ton of talent that have already worked with Unreal. And again, all this leads to just better optimization, better programming, and more time spent on the developing process, the creative process, which is again something we talk about from PlayStation first party studios, right? Where we've seen tons of developers speak about developing for that single SKU in mind, developing from the ground up for the PlayStation specifically, and that is why you often get these games that just do things on an entirely different level. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, what everybody else does to compete, right? Because a lot of people saying like people aren't competing. I'm like, no, these engines are definitely competing right now, which is why, like I said, you're seeing who feels like it's still reasonable to have their own in-house engines and really keep those updating and going forward, as opposed to working with the Unreal 5 engine as they improve significantly with this 5.6 update and other updates in the future. So, I mean, it's gonna be some interesting times, man. I think we're about to see some incredible games. Obviously, we've seen a little snippet of what Intergalactic looks like. As far as what they were able to achieve, and Naughty Dog always goes crazy. So I think a lot of the noise we've been hearing, which, like we said, this year has been phenomenal, right, for gaming, despite all the noise that people are making. Clearly, a lot of people are not playing some of these games, but I think even a lot of the naysayers and a lot of the people who feel like they haven't gotten those shocking moments, like that's all about to go out the window. Obviously, GTA 6 is coming. But there's going to be quite a few more titles. You just saw the Chinese, the NetEase
Oh my god, dude!
game that got
So
Oh,
shown.
yeah.
what the flip, man? Unreal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like people are losing their minds, right? But again, now imagine, I don't know what they're on, but imagine again, I know NetEase is a big fan of middleware stuff, which is what, Unreal Engine is
A lot
part
of
of, right?
cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of their games on that. So this could be another 5.6 update or project in the works, or again another engine that is a lot of times when one engine advances, the other advances.
Mm.
Like again, competition pushes people to the next level, and so you get all of these engines pushing
Mm.
each other to the next level, and then you start to see stuff that you never thought was possible.
Even Death Stranding, like I was saying, I don't know, I said it somewhere, but it was when they Kojima on that stream, he played like the opening segment. It's no spoilers. It just goes through like snippets of the landscape that you're going to be
Yeah.
playing in the game. And I remember someone posted a tweet with
By the way,
screenshots.
I'm playing this game in the background, the NetEase game. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, so they played they put the screenshots of the opening of Death Stranding 2, and I was like, I'm not. I swear, I'm not exaggerating. I was zooming in on his screenshots, and I was like, hold on a minute, like this is real. This is not the game. Definitely not the game. This seems like real photos. And then they were like, nah. He linked me to the video. He was like, it's from the Kojima stream. It's the opening of the game. And I was like, get the hell out of here. And then I watched it and I clipped it. Is why I put it on my thing. And I said, like, it's probably the most realistic thing I've ever seen in a game. And I stand by that. And sure enough, when I saw it on the stream, some of the scenes I still could not tell was a game. And I am thinking, did he use some like trickery here? Is it blended with like real life? But he does have like game assets in those scenes, like bugs and trees, and you can see some of the stuff is, so I don't know, like, did he mix real life with it? But either way, I was just like, oh, Christ almighty, like this just looks insane. Like, people would always want like a PS5 only like hardware showcase. Well, we're definitely about to get one because this shit just looks crazy.
Right.
You can see, you can see some similarities, I think, here this game with Assassin's Creed. I'm just watching the trailer again.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this game looks very interesting. I'm intrigued. It's interesting. As somebody who has primarily gamed on PC for the last couple of years, to I think Nib and Nate's point, there is something to be said for developing. Like especially as it relates to consoles, developing for single hardware. And I'm sorry, I'm just watching this trailer now. I'm just kind of distracted.
It's crazy. It's my kind of game, man. I love those, and the fact that they said it's linear. Like I feel like everything is going open world these days, and I appreciate when
Actually, I welcome that linear kind of. It looks open world, but it's more linear. I appreciate.
Yeah, me
that.
too. I was saying in my tweet, it's kind of reminded me of Uncharted X Hellblade 2 X Assassin's Creed. Like, it's kind of the vibe it gives me. But yeah, it certainly looks incredible. And I'm telling you, these Chinese studios, they're coming hard. Like,
Yeah, they are.
because the thing is, like, they got that manpower as well. They got the cheaper, obviously, labor, and not as in expertise for like the hiring and everything. Like, the salaries are lower. You know, that they can have so much higher production for a much lower cost. So they're gonna be coming, man. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, this guy. I think this trailer looks really, really good. I mean, we'll see if they can stick the landing. But so far, I mean, the trailer just looks awesome.
What's the game called again?
It is. What's the game called again? Hold on a sec here. What the hell is this game called?
Let me have a look. It's on my Twitter. It's called
Blood something.
Blood Message.
Blood Message. Yeah.
Yeah, Blood Message. It looks crazy.
I mean, I'm just
different
excited that
environment.
all this talent is finally getting out here. You know,
Yeah.
after they opened the free market zone a couple years ago, and
Yeah,
PlayStation
correct.
started
Yeah.
selling out there, and all this other stuff, man. Because it's like all this talent was just being utilized for like a bunch of gotcha stuff, and you
Yeah.
know, or PC only
Well,
games.
this year is going to be kind of like the start of the big China Hero Project push, because we get our first two. It's weird because the PS5 has had a very basically a dead year so far in exclusives. Luckily, there's been tons of multi-platform stuff, high quality stuff. But the second half of the year is looking real good. Like between you know, Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yote and Lost Soul Aside and Ballad of Antara, like all of them look really solid. And I'm curious to see where the China Hero Project titles land. Should be interesting.
No, I agree. A lot of that stuff looks incredible.
It does. Although the one I'm most looking forward to is Phantom Blade Zero. I think that's next year, right?
Yeah, Phantom Blade Zero is looking real good. Yeah, and I think they did a slight push. People thought it was going to be this year, but I think it's going to be early next year. And then we also have some other titles, like you said, like Where the Wind Meets is another one. Like there's so much coming down the pipeline along with the other stuff. That is coming from PlayStation themselves. Yeah, man, it's gonna be.
I mean, they in that presentation, the business presentation, they had as fiscal year 26, they put down Wolverine and Intergalactic, which surprised me. I was like, oh snap! I didn't think, like, you know, both of those games 2026 games, because then you've got like Tokon as well. And they didn't put that in the list because they regard that as, I think, a multi-genre game. So they have single-player tentpole, they have live service, and then they have multi-genre. And I think Tokon goes into multi-genre, and they have marathon and fair games in live service, and then they have Wolverine and you know, whatever Intergalactic and Soros and stuff in the single player. But yeah, I was surprised to see that, because that means 2026 could be real big, because if it has Intergalactic and Wolverine and Phantom Blade Zero and Tokon Fighting Souls, and then a bunch of other stuff from third parties, like, what a banger of a year it will be. We'll see.
Yeah, man, it's 2026 is looking crazy, but it's like even before we get there, we're about to get treated to some crazy stuff. Like it's already been, like we've talked about it, you know, where we talked about how incredible Expedition was and how incredible the level design is in, you know, It Takes Two, not It Takes Two, but Split Fiction.
Split Fiction, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, man, it's just game after game, and even other stuff that like doesn't get talked about as much. But like everybody I know that's playing the Altars is really enjoying.
I can't wait to play
right
that.
now.
I can't wait to play that. I'm in KCD 2 right now, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So
that's another game.
It's another great game. It's another great game. Yeah.
Yeah, the two, like my two girls I know that played it, Christos and obviously Morgan, my best friend. That was her game of the year, and that was both of their games of the year. KCD2.
Okay.
before they played Expedition, and even then, Christos had to fight for like 2 weeks with like her whole soul to decide if she felt like Expedition took it from KCD2, and like she still is kind of like on the fence, and it's like to have to fight that much, and we're in June, bro, June, like, like,
Yeah, yeah. I'll be honest, like
wild.
I can't see anything topping Expedition 33, but obviously, like Death Stranding does look real good. Like I don't know, we'll see. Like, but it does, yeah. But I'm fairly confident nothing will top Expedition 33. I don't think I've ever had, at least in the last, I would say last like 8 years or something. I don't think I've had another year where I've given 2 10 out of 10s out. So we'll see.
Right?
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 was my game of the gen. I think it's going to go to Expedition 33.
Yeah, Expedition
It's
is
just one of those.
okay.
You know, there's like a handful of games, at least since I've been gaming, that I always go back, or that I remember, and I go back. Wow, remember these like 3, 4, 5, 6 games, and out of all the hundreds of games that released that generation, and that game, just Expedition 33 for me is going to be one of those games I talk about when I look back at this generation.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like Mass Effect during the 360 generation.
Oh yeah, Mass Effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You know, speaking to that, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. Xbox 360, that shit was the it console, because from Mass Effect and from BioShock, and then obviously you had Gears of War, and then even Halo 3 was really strong, and even on the arcade side of things, PGR was really strong, and then Fable 2 was solid as well. It's like that they had those it games, because BioShock for me is like one of my favorite games of all time, and that was actually an Xbox 360 exclusive. Mass Effect as well, like one of the best, again, Xbox 360s. They're both third party, but who gives a shit? Like, they're amazing, incredible games. That's the whole point. They sell, even third party exclusives can sell systems, right? It can catapult your system.
I know people that
it,
bought 360s for, you know, those third party exclusives.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Gears of War was as far as I understand, it was, the IP was not even owned by them at the time. Epic sold it to them, I think, after Gears 3 or Gears, I think something along those lines. They bought the IP rights off them. So even that was theoretically third party or second party, or whatever you want to call it.
But see, that was the great thing about that generation. It was the games first.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. And that's my, you know, I think people kind of they always focus on the other stuff, you know, outside of the games, right?
Yep.
And it's like, no, like the brains of the 360 was, it was games, great games, and then you had all the other stuff, which was like the icing on the cake. You had the multimedia functionality, or not the you had like.
I'm gonna say
Netflix,
something a bit spicy.
Yeah,
but like, I know it's a bit arrogant and whatever, but it's like, I think with a lot of the Xbox fandom, I genuinely think their standards have just dropped a lot. So when they say like, "Oh, you hate on Xbox," because like I have I've always owned Xbox since they came into gaming, right? And I'm acutely aware of the quality that they can offer, right? Even the first Xbox had so many bangers.
Ninja
Gaiden, Silent Hill, KOTOR, like come on, bro. Like they had an influx of high quality, and then obviously the 360 was phenomenal, and it's like we haven't gone back to that in decades. And even though I am happy with their cadence right now, I think this year has been it's still not like a banner benchmark year in terms of like game of the year standouts by Xbox. It's still not that. Like, don't get me wrong, Avowed and Doom the Dark Ages and, you know, what's the South by Midnight, solid games, but they're not like game of the year, you know, games the way BioShock and Mass Effect and Gears of War. Like, it's not that caliber. And I think a lot of, from what I've interacted with people online, is they just think it's some sort of like conspiracy, and like the media just doesn't like Xbox. But no, what's happened is your standards have dropped and you're not able to discern that quality anymore. But someone like me who's playing all the platforms, right?
is able, because we're getting the entire gamut, and maybe their tastes have changed. I don't know, like, who knows. But like, to me, when I, sometimes even before I've read reviews, like when I played Hi-Fi Rush, which is an Xbox game, I don't think any reviews had dropped by the time, or at least I hadn't read any reviews by the time I beat it. And after I beat it, I was like, yeah, this is a real high quality game. I give it a 9 out of 10. And then some reviews started coming in and it reviewed really well. So it's not a case that, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead, finish your thought, and then I want to pick it back.
No, I was just going to say, it's not the case that it's some conspiracy. It's just like, it's just some people are kind of out of touch for the reasons why people love these games. And even Expedition 33, it's on Game Pass. That is not a PlayStation game. There's no conspiracy, but look at the reception to that, like 90 plus rated or whatever. Like, people need to get, people need to get out of this thing where they think that, these PlayStation games and Nintendo games, they're only being rated high because of some sort of media bias or whatever. It's not that. They just really are just high quality games.
I mean, I've had people tell me that I don't give Xbox a fair shake, or that, I don't like Xbox. And it's like, no, like, to your point, Nib, kind of piggyback what you said, you've owned Xbox from the get-go. I go back 20, they're getting ready to celebrate their 25-year anniversary next year, which I think will coincide with the launch of the new Xbox, and the Halo Combat Evolved will launch alongside that console, the remake or remaster, whatever it is, to celebrate 25 years of Xbox. But I do think that some don't have that perspective. For those who don't know, I was an Xbox Live beta tester. 24 years ago, I was an Xbox Live beta tester. And to your point, Nib, if you follow that console and you look at what they did, right? Like, everything was focused around games, right? Yes, they talk about hardware. Yes, powerful hardware. It's got an internal hard drive. But then, and I've said this before on the show, then they showed you games. They designed games that specifically took advantage of the hardware feature sets, the internal hard drive, the processing power. I mean, you had Itagaki-san, who at the time was the head of Team Ninja, basically say, I can't make this new Ninja Gaiden on that PlayStation 2 console. That thing's weak. And what did he do? He brought Ninja Gaiden exclusive to the Xbox. And that game was beautiful. Game was also difficult. It was beautiful. Then you had, I think we lost Nib. Then you had a Toji, which was an exclusive for a little bit, time exclusive. You had Panzer Dragoon Orta. You had a lot of this Shenmue. You had a lot of the Sega franchises that came over. But it was always the games first, and then those ancillary features that were second. Later. I mean, the ancillary features were talked about, but they didn't take front and center. It was a complement to the software.
Play anywhere and quick
That's
resume. And I was like, bro, I don't care if I can, I don't care about quick resume if I can't play what I want to play on it. Like, I was like, features don't matter if you don't have the games, bro. I was like, that's what I want.
That's been the one constant in the 40-something years I've been playing video games.
Yeah,
software.
Exactly. Software.
It is.
I want to let them know, because I see somebody in the chat, right? This maker here is saying, like, he enjoyed, or he or she. I don't want to assume somebody, but whatever this person, they're saying they enjoyed Indie. It was one of the top 5s. Again, nothing wrong with that, bro. Like I personally would.
I really enjoyed Indie too.
Yeah, I
give it a 9 out of 10.
Big shout out to Troy Baker, by the way. That voice acting Indiana Jones. I mean,
insane job with that voice. Like, he even, to the point where he even scared old boy.
I was like, is that Harrison Ford?
Before he came out, he was like, man, you make me feel like I should have done it myself, because you did too good of a job. Like, so yeah, like, he did a phenomenal job. For me personally, I always tell people, I gave it a chance and it looked great, right? I played it, 100 plus FPS and played it on PC, ultra wide. It is a beautiful game. It's just, for me, I'm not a puzzle person. And trust me, I knew what I was getting into. Indiana Jones is all about puzzles, bro. Like, I'm just, I couldn't get to the big set pieces, and I still want to try to get to finish it because I saw my girlfriend playing like the Asian level later, where they're flying on the it gets real actiony. You get the real Indiana Jones super action, go crazy. So the game does have other stuff to it, but I think it's the Vatican level. The Vatican level is just so long. Like it's super, super long. And but again,
that is a boring level in my opinion, but that's
and that's what was killing me at first, right? Like I was like, God, man, this is gonna take forever. But
it
also,
does have a lot of slow moments, yeah.
No, and it does, right? And I don't mind those, right? Like other games have had those and they've been phenomenal. It's all in the pacing and how you do it. And I don't think that game is a bad game because I have this is something I spoke about on Twitter and I speak about it a lot. A lot of gamers need to understand themselves better. To understand where they are with things. Like I think that game is a solid game, right? But there are other things that stand out to me because I'm a very detail oriented person. So like the transition of him going from water to land bothers me to like no end. Like it's like a weird transition where it like flips out to third person for a second and then like back to first person. Like again, like transitional animations and stuff like that. I'm very spoiled for games that do that really well. Obviously, PlayStation is super famous for a lot of their animation quality. So when something is jarring to me and it stands out and I have to do it frequently, I mean, there's a ton of times you go from swimming to get back on land in Indiana Jones. Like there's a ton of puzzles and stuff like that. You swim and then you get back up. That transition kills me, but it didn't kill the game for me. But again, like I said, I understand from a puzzle perspective that that's not my favorite thing. Like I had a whole thing with Hero about that earlier. We were talking about he came across a puzzle in Mass Effect, and I had to tell him I was like, dude, I hate puzzles. In Mass Effect is one of my all-time favorite games of all time. That is like the only puzzle you will run into in that whole game. So again, but I wanted to make sure he understands. Like, look, we're not saying those that they didn't have any games, right?
Yeah.
Because they've had some. And in Nib, you are super, despite them always wanting to get on you on Twitter, I remember how much you said you enjoyed Hellblade 2. Like, and again, we talk plenty of times and we agree on a lot of stuff. And I was like, Nib like Hellblade 2. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all like different things. But, you know, I can admit the really good things that I think are objective, whether I like Hellblade 2 as a game or not. Objectively, obviously, very beautiful animation quality.
I'm so glad you said that because that is, I think, like the sign of maturity in assessment. Because a lot of people I've found, and I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of people, it's like, I didn't like the game, therefore the game is trash. But it's like it could just be, okay, it wasn't for me, but I can see the quality. I can see why people love it. There's a lot of games like that, like Witcher 3 I didn't finish. I get why people love it. It was just too broad and repetitive for me. But the thing is, some people love that. Some people love the scope of anything, the vastness of it, or whatever. For me, it was just too much, and I think I also kind of ruined it for myself because I got like the high end Witcher gear, and it kind of made exploration redundant because every piece of gear I was getting for hours and hours on end was less performant than my gear already, which kind of killed me exploring and taking on beasts that were way higher level than me, only to get like paltry rewards. I was just like, so part of that was that. But I mean, like, this whole thing on like quality, I'll try and like give, if I can, like just like one example. Like, so like, what does that mean?
Gentlemen, real quick, Jim, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do need to wrap up the show. Go ahead, Dib. Just wrap up your thought here.
Okay, so I was gonna say, like, just as like try and give a snippet of what I mean by quality. Let's just take like God of War Ragnarok and Halo Infinite, right? So Halo Infinite, I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it an 8.5 or an 8. But the thing is, even though the gameplay wise, it's really competent, really fun. It feels great. The grapple's cool. The actual like game design is really rudimentary. Like you basically do the same shit over and over. Like free this group of people, destroy these silos. There's no real like emergent moments. There's no like big set pieces that you dynamically come across in the world. Like, it's kind of like the same kind of style of mission. And then every now and again, you get the single player section that, carries the story forward. So it's a very rudimentary game design. take something like God of War Ragnarok, right? Or God of War Ragnarok obviously has its story and blah blah blah, but like even side content in that game is orders of magnitude more ambitious and sort of diversified than anything in Halo Infinite. And what I mean by that is a simple mission can be like a giant fucking mythic whale that is a platforming segment that you have story with what's his name, the head, telling you about why he was imprisoned and him having guilt over it, and you go around this whole whale that's the size of an island, doing all different puzzles and so on, so you can free this whale, and that's just a random missable side quest. Then you have like another one where it's a whole unique world, literally a whole area that I think I spent like 4 or 5 hours in, and you're taking on one dragon after the other and freeing them. They're in chains, blah, blah, blah. And again, that's an optional side quest. It's an optional side quest that literally is more like compelling or in terms of production and spectacle and all the rest and what you come across than anything in Halo Infinite, even from the main campaign, let alone the side quest. And I'm not saying that I didn't love. I really enjoyed Halo Infinite, but this is what I mean by like the X factor. Even The Witcher 3, even though I didn't finish it because of those other reasons, it had its moments of X factor, like the Bloody Baron quest, right? That the writing, the story, how much it emotionally engaged you, it had that X factor. Even Red Dead Redemption, like the Ku Klux Klan thing, when you're just, like it had its moments where it was like, when you set them all on fire or whatever, like. There's these kind of emergent moments or things you come across and they've gone the extra mile to like put them in, and that is the extra like barometer. That's the thing that separates the really high quality games from the rest, right? They go that extra mile and put so much effort into random side shit that other games, even their main campaigns don't even go to those lengths. And I think some people, like when they play these games, it's a conspiracy, blah blah blah. They're just sucking off Sony. Like they just don't understand. They don't understand what goes into these games, even from a writing perspective and the characterization perspective. They just don't get it.
Yeah,
Agreed.
well, gentlemen, I do need to wrap up the show. I have to get up early tomorrow morning, unfortunately. But first, I want to give a big shout out to I got to find him here in the chat. Anonymous Boss with gifting all the BRAP memberships. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Really appreciate it. Also want to thank everyone in the live chat for hanging out with us this evening. Please smash that like button. Do the YouTube thing. Consider subscribing, hit the bell notification so you are alerted when we go live. Also, big shout out to our guest Doomsayer. We had to leave early this evening as well. Also want to give a big shout out to Innate and Nib. Gentlemen, Innate, I'll go with you first. I don't know if you want to be found, but if you do, and thank you again, Nate, for joining us tonight. But if you want to be found, let everyone know they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter or Blue Sky at The Real Innate, spelled like it is on screen in the chat there with Innate. And then you can find me typically every Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Otter Players podcast. Just shooting it out with the crew, talking gaming, and all the games we're enjoying in the state of the industry, but typically gaming, because again, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that's really what it's all about, gaming and and having fun, enjoying the medium of gaming. And speaking of gaming, Nib, I really appreciate you joining us. I know it's late over there.
Yeah,
I don't even want to know what time it is over there right now.
It is. Let me check. I didn't want to check, but 4 a.m.
Oh my goodness, 4 a.m. It's almost. I mean, are you going to bed now? Are you going to stay up and maybe have some
the thing
breakfast
is,
and coffee? Or
I want to go to sleep, but it's just too hot, man. It's too hot. Like,
oh, I did hear about that. The heat wave, or the UK, right?
Yeah, that is sweaty and muggy right now. We don't have air conditioning in this country, so I've got my fan on, but it's not enough.
Yeah,
oh
bro,
my goodness.
that is wild.
That's brutal.
Bro.
How hot is it there?
I don't know. I think I checked. I don't know because you guys use a different like.
Fahrenheit,
yeah, I think if I remember correctly, it was like 30 something degrees. Which I don't know how that translates to.
Well, the humidity makes it worse. So at least
exactly, yeah, it's so muggy.
If it makes you feel better, though, when I had to go to my dentist appointment the other day, and you can translate this, but it was 115 degrees, and
Okay.
my car was sitting in the sun, not under the carport. So yeah, that was fun.
Oh shit! Yeah. What color is your car, out of curiosity?
It's gray, but it's
Okay.
like a charcoal gray,
So,
but it has leather seats. So yeah, that's always fun.
listen, man, I've had a murdered out black car before, black wheels, black everything, red calipers. It does not work in the heat. Trust me.
Oh no, you are going to trap heat.
Oh
with
my
that. Oh,
god!
yeah.
Like I literally couldn't even touch the steering wheel. I'm just like, what the hell? Like the black cars just absorb all that heat, all that goodness.
Yeah, it looks like the UK is going to be in the 80s today, Fahrenheit. No, I'm sorry, 90 tomorrow in the UK. I don't know what part of the. I'm just looked it up.
Yeah.
Generally, just says the UK, doesn't tell me where in the UK, but 90
Yeah.
degrees Fahrenheit, which is like probably 30 something, high 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
33 degrees Celsius, like 80 something degrees, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, oh man, yeah, it's going to be hot where I live. Not a Nate hot, but
No.
it's probably going to be like 92. But we get humidity here outside of Washington D.C. It gets very humid out here. So, yeah, Nate's heat's a different. It's like hot. Our heat's like humid hot.
Yeah,
I don't know which one I
it's
would
like
prefer.
you could just cook outside. You know, at that
Yeah.
point, just bring
But
a
that's the thing. Like the humidity does make all the difference. Because I've
does
literally
make
been
a
in a desert heat, and it's actually not that bad because it's been a dry heat. But then when I'm like in Bangladesh, for example, boy, like you just can't stop sweating because it's just you're in the middle of the equator. It's just like jungles everywhere and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, Nib, thank you so much. I do hope you get some sleep, but I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
To be honest, I would have been playing KCD too. That's the truth. That's the truth. Like, yeah, actually, I was playing it before I even came on. That's the reason I was up. But yeah, good show. It was cool chopping it up, and yeah, there's a lot of gaming conversation as well. This one, especially talking about our past and gaming and stuff. That was cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, but gentlemen, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. And everyone, enjoy the weekend. Have some fun playing video games because ultimately that's what it's all about. And we will catch you next week for BRAP. And again, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. GG.